All right, welcome. Oh, wait, I got to give it a few seconds. Okay, welcome to the 10th live stream where I'm going to be working on my second book, the sequel to Two Stories, which is Two Stories Book 2. I'm going to be working on thumbnails for the second volume. What is Two Stories? It is, and I will show you right here. It is a graphic memoir that grapples with questions of faith, mental illness, and depravity, and ultimately redemption in a fallen world. It's a autobiocomic, black and white, 120 pages. Just was released in December. And so while this is book one, I now have to make book two. And this book took about 5 years to make. And so I'm pretty proud of it. I think it's pretty cool. The art is pretty detailed, and you'll notice it's a little different. And you can pick these up at Amazon. Looking for Two Stories by Joshua Kemble. I highly recommend reading it before you do anything else. Go pick up that book. But anyhow, at least when you pick up that book, you can follow along with the creation of book two and kind of know a little bit about what's going on and a little bit of the backstory. I've been a freelance illustrator for 15 years, over 15 years, and I've been an art director for about 6. And I have also, on top of that, I do comics and make comics and graphic novels. So last stream, I thumbnailed this page, page 83. And so now today I'm going to be working on thumbnails for page 84. And it should be pretty exciting. I have my script. From my script, I usually block out sections that I'm working on so that I can kind of keep track and I don't get lost in the weeds. And my hope is to kind of power through and get one page thumbnailed at least. As usual, it's kind of late at night. It's been a crazy day. I had some revisions I had to do for a client. I had a bunch of yard work that took about 3 hours longer than I expected. I'm still weeding this crazy backyard that we have. And I am running out of excuses to not have gotten this work done. So I'm going to get going on it. All right. So what I do at first is kind of break these panels into different sections so I can quickly reference them. And then I also, because I know there was some research I had to do, I did do some research of some bullets and guns because this section of the story is really weird. We're basically talking to a guy trying to get a hold of a gun. And basically, he's walking us through gun safety in this kind of surreal situation after sort of a traumatic event with our neighbor. And so that's kind of where we're at in the story. If you want to kind of check out the story so far for book 2, you can also check out the thumbnails up to page 84. All of those pages are on my Instagram at joshuakemble.com. And yeah, I'm just going to get moving. And then if anyone wants to join or hop in the chats or hang out, they are free to. And it is a Sunday night, super late. So as usual, I'm not expecting many people to show up, but if somebody shows up, cool. All right, so here we go. This first panel, I need to block out the letters for. And so it's continuing from the last panel of the last page. So I'm going to pull that up a little bit so that I can kind of take a look at that. Also try to come up with a way to have my type where I can read it. Oh man, I got things falling off the desk. All right. So, my goodness. Okay, so now that I've had like 20 things fall off the desk, now I'm going to get moving on it. So just have to come up with a way to situate this text so that I don't have it block the screen. Okay, cool. So this next next sentence is going to continue from this line, which is when approaching a firearm. And then that should do it. I'm not sure why the rotation tool gets stuck on this. It's very irritating. So I'm going to save this, reopen it, and see if that kind of fixes the problem. I don't know what it is about the new Photoshop and like getting stuck on that rotation tool. All right, so there we go. Turn off my grids. And let's get moving on this. Okay. Also going to move some stuff out of the way so that I can see. Okay, cool. Here we go. So this line is going to be a ... Oh. Actually, let's jump in one step ahead. I think I need to see the height. Yep. Okay. That'll work. Okay, so I was jumping a step ahead. So I want to see the height of the panel too. So I pulled up like the panel from last, so I don't have to measure out all my panels. And then hopefully my brush settings from working on, this is one of the downsides of freelance too, is like when you have kind of a good setup for your current project. Like if you're working on multiple projects, sometimes it can take quite a while just to get everything set to work on a different project that has different settings required. And if I were smart, I'd probably save them all as like presets, but I'm not smart, so I don't. All right, so here we go. We're going to thumbnail this out. I am wondering if this should be, I do think like a half would be good. So this is pulling another previous panel. And should I, yeah, I think I should make this like a half panel sequence, because this is going to pull back from what I think was pretty cool that I came up with from stream 9, where there's like this sequence where this guy is showing us a gun, and I realized like there's probably gun ads for the very model that he was showing us from like, back in the day, like vintage gun ads. And I realized that would be a cool framing device for the comic page. So it could look like both an ad, like those old BB gun ads that would be in comic books. And then at the same time also function as a narrative element. But now we're transitioning back from that to in the present in this room. And so it's important, I think, as that transition happens to try to reestablish it with like a decent shot. So we'll see how this goes. Okay. So this might end up being like a third though panel. We'll find out. Okay. So it should say or thinking of things to, that was me just inventing words there, or thinking of using one. So few things to consider. And this is going to be dialogue. So I'm going to have to work out how exactly this is a... It's funny, I know so little about weapons that I had to look up the model that this was and then the bullets that it used. I do remember they were really huge, but like I said, I don't really know guns very well because I'm not really a fan. Although as a kid, they're really fun to play with. Let's see, like toy guns and stuff. Okay, here we go. Gonna move this up and let's get going. I am wondering if... Okay, this was the last panel we saw. Pull that down for reference so I can kind of see the room environment. And then I'm going to find those, all these non-referenced, my layers. I'm sorry, you guys are probably not seeing this on the screen, but my layers are a bit chaotically placed. So I am trying to find the location of some of these things. Okay, there we go. We've got Troy over here. Okay, so there we go. That gives me a reference. Now let's see. How can I lay this out in a way? Oh, okay. It'll pull tighter, I think. It actually makes sense. Because he's going to be pulling up, and I did look up a reference of the bullet. So let me find that. There we go. He's going to be pulling one of these babies up. Okay. So there we go. And then I just need to sketch him basically having this conversation with us. And working on that. He's going to be holding out the bullet in front of him. And I'm trying to kind of keep a little looser with my thumbnails so they don't take quite as long as they've been taking. In theory, this will work, but we'll see. And obviously, I think I'm going to shrink this down a little bit. You know what? I don't like that. Ooh. Okay. I don't want to fully erase this, but I think I need to resketch that hand. And I need to resituate this to where it's going to actually fit within the sequence. If you hear like mad typing behind me, it's because my wife is freelancing too. And so she's typing on her computer back there, just explaining if you guys hear that. It's not a problem. All right, so here we go, and we're going to knock this out. All right, so I think this is pretty good. Let's getting there. Okay, I need to work a little bit faster though. Thumbnails too. To me, these seemed like really crazy big bullets, but I have no idea. I mean, I would imagine so. They definitely didn't look like something that would fit in like a rifle or a handgun, more like something from a rifle. But once again, I don't really know. Okay, and he is saying bull. Okay, so he's going to be kind of holding a. And actually, I don't like the eyebrows being up. I kind of want him to be like kind of more serious during this conversation. Okay, cool. Pull that back up. There we go. So he's going to be basically having this conversation about these bullets right now and holding out a bullet to the gun and have this hand kind of over a duffel bag that he just unlocked. That's going to have basically a gun. Let's see here. I think he was just holding the gun, so it might make sense for him to have it out. The strange things we all work on. Okay, so this is going to be, yep. So once again, these are not final pages. They're just kind of thumbnails to sort of block out and work out what is going to come next in the story. And so like that's really helpful when you're working on comics and you don't want to commit to a final page before you've worked out all the stuff that's needed to like do research on and all of that, because if you end up like committing to panels or pages that you haven't worked out in the rough stage, you end up being kind of in for a nightmare later on. I think most artists have tried that at some point in in their lives, like to not rough out what they're going to work on, and then it becomes kind of a hit or miss situation. Whereas like this allows you to kind of work out, especially with sequential pages, stuff like oh yeah, his hand was on this side, or oh, he was wearing this shirt or something like that. Because if a costume changes and you invest 10 hours into the the drawing, it can be kind of a real problem later on. So okay, and then this is in this living room. We have a figure here. It's going to be okay. So bring face here. So that should be her, and then it'll be kind of working out the hair. It'll be kind of in that sequence. Then I'm going to work out the this as well. And then it's going to have this figure here. All right, so now we're dropping this in.
I think earlier you said medicine or something like that on the ticket. But I think, think about it.
That eyeball was weird. Gonna redraw that eyeball. We'll just kind of get through it. Scene. And I think mouth should be like open.
Like right by my shoulder. I'm still kind of like, oh.
And then rock through it. I'm gonna have the screen that's behind him, block that out. And here we go. Kind of really quickly should be done with the roughs for this. Okay. So I think we're done with the first panel, and then, obviously just a thumbnail. I like to block in a little bit of the lighting because that helps when it comes to later coming up with like what I need to gather reference for and stuff. So there we go. And also just gives me an idea of like how I'm going to light the scene. A little bit of a compositional layout sort of thing going on there. Not like perfectly accurate, but it just gives you a sense of like how you're going to set up the lighting. And then basically put some reflective light on the screen. And get that there. And we should be good. Okay, so the one thing I want to fix on this too is I think I need another text box below it. So I might need to adjust this a little bit. And as I adjust it, I'll put text and stuff down here. Okay, so here we go. And then we've got, it's going to say, okay. I'm needing to block this out. Okay, so it says, he pulled out a large bullet for a rifle. So that's what I need to type in there. 4A. Then I'm going to have this here so I don't have a widow down here. And that should kind of do it. So I heard this news article today where they have a Dodger Stadium. They're, setting up a vaccine center and stuff. And a bunch of like protesters showed up and shut down the vaccine center for like an hour. And keep in mind, these vaccines, like the COVID vaccine, once it's in a syringe, is only good for like 2 or 3 hours, I think. So they pretty much like risked putting a bunch of vaccines to waste because they're brainwashed to think that vaccines don't work. And it was kind of disturbing. It was interesting. But anyhow, so that's on my mind. Just like how people can become so deluded.
I'm further done. I'm further than you may, so you can catch up.
Okay, so there we go. And then basically, now I can move on to the second panel. So we got panel 2. Whew! Moving fast, not too bad. So panel 2 is supposed to be this weird kind of part. Okay, this I looked up reference for too because I realized like I have no idea what like a bolt action rifle looks like when it's being cocked back or anything like that. Okay. Oh, here we go. It's a weird part of the story. Anyhow, so the part that mystified me about that story I was mentioning from the news was just like the fact that it's almost like, how do people kind of get invested in like a death cult? And then I was thinking that would actually be a pretty interesting plot point if you were writing like an end of the world kind of book. Like, I don't know if this has been done, but it's like, can you imagine like a zombie apocalypse movie where there's a whole cult of people who actually worship the zombies and think the zombies are actually good for them, and that like becoming a zombie really is just overrated and it's all a conspiracy. So they like intentionally like throw themselves in front of zombies to be eaten. I don't know. I think if that were
I
in
would watch that.
but if that were in a movie like pre 2020, people would be like, that was interesting, but it's not really believable. Like people wouldn't actually do that. No, they would. I mean, they protested a COVID-19 vaccine scenario where like we're in a situation where like if people don't get vaccinated soon enough, like it's going to be really disastrous for, like it just means we're going to have more businesses closing and more people getting sick and more people dying. And so it's like, I'm protesting people not dying. It's just I don't know. Anyhow, this is my stream, not one of the other shows. So like, I feel no holes barred in the sense of like being able to express my opinions and stuff. And personally, I feel like if somebody doesn't really believe in vaccines or anything like that, they're probably not like really my audience because they probably wouldn't even read my book. So okay, so much less read. I don't know. So anyhow, let's see here. Here we go. Rock this out. I'm not sure if this is going to be wide or not, so I'm just going to kind of place hold where it's going to go, and then we'll figure it out from there. What else? Let's see. So that yard thing that I was like weeding for the last, I don't know, I've been carving away at it for like months. It's finally starting to like disappear from the yard, like the weeds. And it's kind of exciting, but it's really interesting. Like, it makes me realize, like, I think there's a part of us that's meant to like tend to the ground or something, because when I'm out there doing it, I'll lose track of time, and then like an hour will go by and I'll be like, oh, I don't know. It's almost like gamifying it, where you're like, I can get a little more done. I can get a little more done. And then before you know it, it's like 4 hours later. And the progress is little, but it's like, it's so rewarding. It's strangely kind of rewarding to do. Because you do see progress. But then like when you're done and you see you've spent like 4 hours out there and you've gotten like a foot forward, it's a little, I don't know. It's interesting. But I do wonder if there's something about people that's like wires us to like be good with working the land. My Photoshop just quit. That's really disturbing. I hope I saved where I was at. This is the one thing I really don't like about the new subscription-based like CC programs and stuff, is like, it's just really crashy, I've noticed. And so it's it's good and all, but it's like look at this. I don't know if you guys can see that. Yeah, you can't see it on there. I just got the Photoshop quit unexpectedly kind of nonsense. It's like, well, it didn't used to do that when they used to vet their programs and release it, and you'd kind of buy one every 4 years or something. So there's cool things about this new subscription program, but like that is one of the most irritating of them. Okay. So here we go. And now I'm going to get going on this. So it's, oh, okay. Okay, so this is going to be actually more like, okay. This actually would make sense to have this halved. And hopefully that makes sense when you guys see it, because right now, like the front, this one's like great because it kind of resituates us in the room, sort of shows a little bit of the position or whatever. But now this is going to be kind of a zoomed in shot. So okay, it's going to say you pull back the bolts. So what's funny is, if anyone watching this after the fact, because it's, like, again, Sunday night, we may not be joined by a lot of people, but if you watch this after the fact, let me know if you are a gun enthusiast and I get this wrong. This is all based on memory and then a tiny bit of research that I did. I think Corey's here. Let me kind of throw myself in the thin stack. Boom. Look at that TV behind me, though.
How's it going?
How's it going? You look like an MTV VJ.
Yes.
I like it.
Oh man.
What are you up working on?
I'm not sure exactly yet because I just got down here, but I might play with some really quick and simple animations for that thing that we were talking about.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I like it. I feel like the structure was it's coming to shape. I feel good about it.
Yeah.
I am bummed because the other thing that I was supposed to start yesterday, I haven't had time to start.
Oh,
So, gonna have to start that this week. Sorry for the dogs.
that's okay. Yeah, we're running a little low on time on that.
Yeah, so my hope is to get a chunk of it done tomorrow. I have most of tomorrow. It's just starting to worry me because it's like I was supposed to get that yesterday. I might actually even start it tonight.
Right.
Hopefully I can make good progress on this bit. This is such a weird thing. Corey, are you familiar with firearms in the slightest?
Yeah, actually, I used to have a conceal and carry, and
Okay.
yeah,
So this was a weird scenario, and I'm writing about it in this section of the book. And it's like this really kind of surreal thing, but you know, you've probably seen the section where like I have this psycho neighbor who like decided to hold me hostage in his apartment. I think he had some mental issues because he was talking to like a dead computer in the corner of his apartment. It was like this weird, very tense thing. But when we finally kind of got out of it or whatever, we called the cops. They came. They didn't take us seriously. I called my brother, who was a cop, as my brother was an LAPD detective.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, dude, call back, talk to a detective, because that was a federal offense. Like, not only were you like being falsely imprisoned, but it was like there was force involved.
Yeah.
And he's like, so that's actually like a felony, you know?
Right.
And so he's like, but you need to talk to a detective because the officers aren't going to take you seriously. Because they're like running beats where they're like, you know, anyhow, regardless. So he also recommended we borrow a gun. And I was like, really? Like, and then when we talked to the detective, they did the same thing. They recommended we got out of there and then borrow a gun. And I was like, is that even legal? And they were like, well, I mean, legal or dead, like you pick. So like, so I called my friend, and then my friend who had a friend who was like a gun owner. And so we're at this point, sorry, long-winded way to say we're at this point where we're at a friend's house getting a gun that's like in a duffel bag and being like walked through like gun safety. And like also on a loophole. So like the last page I was working on like was about this like gun loophole that I didn't even know till this scenario, where like the guy was just basically like, yeah, just lend me $1. And then it's legal. And it was like, and part of it's kind of why he picked this gun that's called what was it called? I just did a page about it too, but it was called a bolt action Lee Enfield number 4 MK1.
Oh, is it?
And so because he specifically picked that because it was considered a collectible.
Uh-huh.
And so I guess like the law on gun ownership in California, there's like, this is all word of mouth. I don't know if this is true, but it seems like it is. It was, I mean, this was a while ago. Maybe they've closed that loophole since, but because it was a collectible, like I could literally just give him $1 and then he could say he sold it to me, and that we didn't need any other record of that transaction other than just a piece of paper saying, hey, I sold this to Josh for like $1. And then it was ours to use, which is a little disturbing. But at the same time, now I'm like walking through the bolt to action stuff. So if you notice any mass errors in like what I am saying on like how to use the gun or anything, like, which I doubt you will, but you might. And if you do, let me know, because I'm not really I did go shooting like when I was younger, but like I'm not really a gun. Like I don't really know. I didn't grow up around a bunch of guns or anything.
Yeah.
So I don't.
I didn't grow up with guns, but I hung with a fairly rough crowd.
Back when you were in a gang.
No, just.
I know. I'm kidding.
Back when I was younger. Not super young. But anyway, and not like rough, like criminal element rough, but like rough, like ex-military, paramilitary rough. That makes it sound way cooler than it was. It was just...
I know enough ex-military dudes to know that that's not that cool. I mean, It is cool in the sense that, like, they know how to, like, go camping and shoot guns and stuff, but
it's not Hollywood ex-military. It's just...
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, I owned a couple guns and whatnot. Yeah, the interesting thing about, I don't know about California gun laws, because actually in California, the interesting thing is most of the California gun laws are county specific and run by the sheriff.
Oh, well, this wasn't a sheriff area though.
What's that?
This was in Orange County, so I don't think that was the sheriff's. Did they have a sheriff? I think the Orange County has police, right? Huntington?
No, every county has a sheriff, and they have police, and they're two separate things. And the sheriff is an elected official.
Got it.
And he's the one that decides, like, certain, like, conceal and carry laws and things like that. So you can actually, California has no universal, like, conceal and carry permits unless it's federal. But if the sheriff tells you that you can carry, then you're okay, which is
so weird.
Very problematic for a number of reasons.
Yeah, I could see that being problematic. It's interesting to me because, like, I've expressed, like, my personal feeling on it, on this show, and I think before. But I don't really judge, and I do have friends who, like, own guns and stuff. I just, like, but I do think, like, it should be harder. It should be harder to get a gun than just being able to loan somebody a buck and be like, oh, it was a collectible, although, actually in retrospect, like, that was still a nice thing to have in the situation we were in,
What?
So,
yeah. And I don't know, the interesting thing that guy was probably doing, is getting rid of legal liability for himself, because I was taught that you should never lend anyone a gun because you are, like, fully culpable for anything that they do with that gun. And so had you shot someone, they would trace it back to the original owner.
Yeah.
So did you sign a bill of sale?
Yes, of course. That's what I was saying. But the funny thing is, like, because this guy was, like, a real gun enthusiast, really nice guy.
Yeah.
And strangely kind of fairly liberal, like, other than just being, like, a very, like, pro NRA guy, right? He even had an NRA hat. So it's, like, it's funny because I'm, like, having him wear an NRA hat, and I can imagine somebody reading this and being like, that was very cliche that you put that. And it's like, no, I knew this dude. Like, he actually had one. But he was a nice guy. He was just, like, really, but I will say to his credit too, it's like this whole sequence is kind of giving him a little bit of credit because he walked through all this gun safety stuff.
Yeah, which is important.
That was really important. And even some of it I knew, but it was like, he wouldn't take, like, the I know this. He almost gave us, like, a gun safety course, and I think even a little drill and test afterwards. But yeah, I think he was removing liability, and it'll get into that too. And it's funny, the cops all mentioned that too, where they were like, castle law, right? Like, I had so many people, like, mention that, where we were just like, I don't know, in retrospect.
Yeah, castle doctrine is really messed up because of the courts. So, yeah, I mean, you're actually in California specifically. This is going to make me sound like a crazy person. I don't think this is right. I'm just saying what the laws have evolved into.
Yeah, that might actually be in this comic, but go ahead.
You are better off shooting and killing someone than shooting and injuring someone in California.
Yep, that's in this whole dialogue. But it's like, yeah, if you don't kill, then I guess, I mean, and this is what we heard from police, from, like, this friend of mine, like, throughout this whole scenario, we were told that multiple times because they were basically like, if you don't kill, you're not afraid for your life. And if you're not afraid for your life, you can't use it.
And if you injure them, then they can sue you for injuring them.
Yeah, and they can say like, well, you were clearly not afraid for your life, so why were you using a gun?
Yeah. If anybody's,
it's messed up.
Yeah, I was pretty deep into the gun. I wouldn't say gun culture, but I was pretty deep into like the gun laws and ownership because I wanted to be a responsible gun owner.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah, and like that's the thing. This guy, even though this is a strange story, and to me, I still have questions in retrospect about it because I'm like, I don't even know if I'd call it responsible, but it's like he was. I think he was responsible in the sense that he's definitely a responsible gun owner. I think all of this section will be stuff where people, if they're fans of guns, might even still be able to read it and be like, oh yeah, that's pretty legit. Because since then I've kind of looked into it, and it's like he pretty much just walked us through like the gun safety rules and then added a few.
Like always keep the barrel pointed in a safe direction.
Yeah.
Never draw your gun unless you intend to use it. Don't point your gun at someone unless you intend to kill them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Always act like the gun is loaded. Did he have you hand it to another person field stripped?
I don't know what that is.
That might have been my military buddies, but they're like, never hand a loaded gun to another person because you're just handing them the weapon to kill you.
Yeah, well, he wouldn't even load it. So.
Yeah, so I had a rule in my apartment. Man, I'm glad this is on your channel. I don't tell these stories anymore. But I had a rule in my apartment where I didn't want a chambered round in my house. And so when my friends would come over, there was a rule that they had to field strip their sidearm. And so we just had like an end table, like a coffee table sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And that was just where everybody would put their. And so you drop the clip and then you rack it to pop the chambered round out, and then that's considered field strip. So there's
okay. See, I haven't heard the term field strip, but I definitely understand that.
Yeah. So I mean, that's when there's no round in the chamber and there's no clip, then there's no possibility of it going off. But you would still point it away from everyone. So
yeah, you kind of always want to treat it like it's loaded, right? That's
right. Yeah.
Sort of one of the rules. Yeah, this guy, he was cautious, and it was like a Lee Enfield, and it didn't have like a clip or anything, so it's just a single load. Like, so he also, that's part of why he picked that gun too, was like it was not like lending somebody a Glock where it's like they could potentially, I guess there's less likelihood with like a rifle like that you'd have like
actually
a chamber.
I mean, for what you were intending it for, is probably the worst weapon he probably could have gotten you. Like, it's not super accurate because you're going to be in close quarters, right? And so it's really easy to overpower somebody in close quarters with a rifle. And then, so, I mean, a shotgun would have been a little bit better because a shotgun has a very loud sound when you cock it, and it's a very distinct sound. And usually the sound of racking a round into a shotgun chamber is enough to have people be like, I'm gonna not be here anymore, and they go away.
Well, so I think the thinking behind this was because in this story, it was pretty clear this guy didn't have his faculties. Like, he wasn't the type of guy, at least in whatever state of mind he was in, where he was going to listen to rational reason or be like, that sounds like a loaded gun. I mean, he was talking to a dead computer in his t-shirt.
No, but that's what I'm saying is, like, if you were, I'm trying to find a situation in my mind where a single shot bolt action rifle would be helpful. I mean, other than it's like a slight visual deterrent, but I mean, he could have literally given you like a blunderbuss, like a like a black powder rifle from like, the frontier days, and it would have been roughly this, because actually the bolt action that you got being a collector's item was from that era. Like, anyway,
it's from World War II, I guess. I guess that's where it was like mostly used, with killing Nazis.
Right. Yeah, I mean the sniper rifle originally was a bolt action because it doesn't fail as much as automatics or semi-automatics.
But yeah, I have heard if you're going for like an apartment, like using a Glock or like a 9mm or just like a shotgun is a good call. Although I've heard mixed things about shotguns especially in apartment complexes. Because
the problem with apartment
that's part of the
complexes,
gun law thing too, right? Is like, or the rules for a gun where you should be aware of like what's behind what you're shooting. Because
right.
like, let's say you're shooting somebody breaking into your house, but you have paper thin walls and you're shooting them with like a pretty powerful round of like a shotgun shell that'll scatter and blow through
think about most walls.
Yeah.
I mean, most walls are drywall,
mm-hmm.
and then 18 inches of nothing, and then a 2x4,
mm-hmm.
and then another drywall. Sometimes there's some insulation. Like you can punch through drywall with your hand.
Yeah.
So like your children, your other family members, your neighbors are all at risk.
Yeah.
It's not a great situation.
Yeah, I personally, I have my own like beliefs on it where I in retrospect now, I don't think I ever want to. I just don't think I really believe in it.
I understand it.
I understand it, and I definitely like at this point in my life. Weirdly enough, I kind of want the reverse of a lot of people, where there's a lot of people who become Christian and then suddenly are like big fans of guns. And for me, it went kind of the opposite, where I'm like, I think when I was a non-believer, I would have been all about it, but now I really honestly don't think it's something I should do.
Well, and statistically speaking,
that's another thing that swayed me.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the statistics, if you are a white male, you are more likely to be killed by suicide if you have a gun in your home than almost anything else. Like just having the option.
Oh, and then your kid, the likelihood of your children getting hurt by a firearm is exponentially high, even if you have a lockbox, which like I never understood. And I was like, well, if you have like a safety mechanism and all that, but then like all it takes is have a toddler, and then you're like, oh, they're very smart, and they figure out ways into things through child safety locks, and like they have a mysterious way to find danger.
Yeah.
Not that they always will, but I do kind of think maybe the solution with that would be if they could somehow lessen the cost of those like fingerprint safety devices where you can't even use a gun without a fingerprint. But to me, It's like, I also have thought about it, and I just personally don't. I just don't want to kill anyone.
Right. Yeah. Biometric response safes are a nice halfway measure, but yeah, it's not great.
This is a very surreal part in the story, though. It's very interesting time where it's like you have, but I am trying to kind of make this next section a little more fun. I don't know if you saw the page I comped out yesterday. I was really excited about that. Sorry,
no, I've been kind of out of the loop the last couple of days. Yesterday was my wife's birthday, so we were doing
nice
birthday stuff.
Happy birthday to her.
Yeah. She is 36.
What? She's young. That's crazy young.
She's 36 and pregnant. She's not feeling that young.
Yeah, pregnant's gonna make like it doesn't matter what age. You're not gonna feel
Well,
good. Like
interestingly enough, the last time she was pregnant was 12 years ago. And she was
36 and pregnant is tough though. That's crazy.
yeah, but early 20s and pregnant. I mean, I remember I took her rock climbing, and she was like 6.5, 7 months pregnant, climbing, and I was like, huh, pregnancy must not be that bad. And like at the end, I had to like help her up the stairs and stuff. But like now she's in her mid 30s. It's a different story.
It's a different beast,
Yeah.
different world.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool though. I'm glad she had. What'd you guys do? Anything cool?
Yeah, we went to a restaurant she likes, and her sister was in town, so we kind of just hung out, and I kind of corralled the kids all day so that she could be with the family but not be responsible for the family.
That's a good one.
And so, yeah. So I had a dinner with an 11-year-old and a 2-year-old, and she had a dinner with near us with her sister. But yeah,
cool.
Yeah, it was good. It was fun. Went to a nursery, and she bought a plant. She's really excited about it.
I'm kind of thinking that this Photoshop. There we go. That's why you weren't seeing. I thought you'd be seeing what I was working on, and then I noticed I was like, wait a minute, that panel's been stuck for like good chunk of time, and I found out that so this might make a little more sense as to what I was talking about accuracy, because I was having to draw like a
okay.
Anyhow,
yeah, I want to look at that.
That's awesome though. I don't know, that sounds cool. Sounds like you
wait. Zoom in on that again.
It'll kind of make sense. You know what I need to do? I'm going to make my head less large.
You need to make your lower third less large is the problem.
Yeah, but that would require time, Corey.
I know. It's a ridiculous size.
I like it. It works really well for my solo stream. What I need is one that's less large for my my group ones when I'm joined by someone else.
I don't know if this matters, but I think you would put the front part of the bullet in the gun first.
Mm-hmm.
You're loading it in rear first. You'd usually push it in front first.
Oh, there's no bullet in there.
Oh, it's just somebody pointing at the open screen.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. You wouldn't, you kind of slide it. You actually slide it forward.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, I couldn't quite tell. I thought you
No. Yeah, it's the inner chamber. It'll make more sense when it's not a crappy rough. That's what I keep saying. And then
it'll also make more sense.
I can be like, it'll look better when it's. Sorry, what?
So it'll also make more sense when it's not like half an inch on my screen and I'm like squinting at it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
That's the real issue.
I am digging I don't know, man. There's like a Max Headroom kind of vibe going on with your
get my camera
video screen.
There we go.
You have to like at some point you're gonna have to do a clip where you just go like I can't even do it, but like you know how he glitch when he was talking. What was that?
My Max Headroom.
Yeah. All right, give me 2 seconds. I'm refilling this coffee mug. For anybody who's watching, which I sincerely doubt, like once again, this is a Sunday night, not the most popular night, but we'll be right back in like about 20 seconds. This is my every time I do this, I do this every hour, like the professional I am, Corey. But yeah, I'm pretty excited. I think I'm making good progress. I'm like about a third done through the page, which is kind of to be expected, and then we'll see where that goes.
Cool.
I'm hoping I have more crazy breakthroughs like yesterday's. I realized before I go, I'll just explain, but it was like I was having the character pull out this Lee Enfield gun, and then I realized this is a gun from World War II. There must be old gun ads. So then I looked up old gun ads, and then I'm like, I'm going to do this. Like, as he's introducing the gun, it's going to become a vintage gun ad.
Oh, cool.
And then the gun ad copy will be the narrative of like what he's saying about the gun. And I was so excited about that I will probably be pumped about that until the day it's published and no one cares.
Oh, that's awesome.
But I still feel good about, like, there's certain framing devices I used in the last book that I feel really good about. Like, still, like, I still like the YouTube search thing. I don't think I've ever seen that done in comics. I don't know. There's little things I did where, but okay. Break, be back.
Okay. I will sit here trying to figure out what I want to do with this thing. I don't like it. I don't like it. I like that one better. Oh, that one's awesome.
So, one of the things I was mentioning at the top that, so I've been like weeding my yard, like this beast of a yard, and I've been doing this for months.
Right.
It takes just hours on end to get like a foot of weeds cleared, And I'm doing that, and I'm like listening to the news, and I heard this story that was just mind-boggling, where it was so that they have Dodger Stadium converted in LA, or they were using it to give out vaccines, because there's like a push to get as many people vaccinated as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And a group of protesters stopped the vaccine line for a good hour, and their intention was to stop it for hours. And these vaccines, like the COVID vaccine, like once it's in a syringe, is like only good for, I think, like 2 hours or 3 hours. So, and all these people, and keep in mind, the people being vaccinated are 65 plus, and they're in a long line trying to be responsible and trying to stay alive in a pandemic. And they managed to shut it down for an hour. I was like, so I was mentioning, like, I think if I ever write like a apocalyptic book, like, I don't know if has this been done in a zombie story where like like you have like a cult of people who worship the zombies and actually want to be bitten by the zombies. Like they think it's a good thing, and they're like,
oh, that's happened several times in vampire stuff.
Yeah, I wonder if that could happen in a zombie one, where you just have people who are like intentionally, like, they're just like, dude, this is just all fake anyway. Like, the government just made this up, and they're like just running out in a field of zombies to get eaten.
Have you read World War Z?
I think I did long ago, but I forget. Was there a cult in that?
I can't remember, but if anyone would have it, it would be that book, because they travel from country to country to country, looking at different responses. And
now, what's that writer's name again? He's Max. Is it? I'm gonna blank out on his name.
World War Z. Of course, the book or the movie comes up instead of the book. World War Z book. Do I actually have to put in the word book to find?
So I think the guy who wrote that was like the son of like a very famous comedian.
Max Brooks.
Yeah, he's Mel Brooks' kid.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. That's interesting.
And if you want to see something entertaining on YouTube, he has a YouTube video that I watched a couple of years back. It's pretty brilliant, where he's just getting completely drunk, drinking. He starts it with this full bottle of whiskey and has a thing of water, and then he downs the entire whiskey and explains the explanation for why the death of Superman destroyed all comic books. And it's really good. He's a pretty funny, interesting guy. I think he's written some other movies too, but
I don't know what his argument is, but I already agree with him because I remember experiencing that as a teenager.
I think
just stupid.
Yeah, I think his point was pretty much what frustrates most of us, which is like you've kind of gotten rid of you've gotten rid of the stakes.
Yeah.
There's no stakes. Like it's like Batman did the same thing. And then everybody follows suit. So then there's Lazarus pits and like whatever other gimmick you can have to have people just not die when they die. So then nobody cares if they die because it's like, oh well, they'll bring him back. It's very strange. And even Avengers, it's like, I don't know. I feel like even Avengers like kind of fell for that, where it's like I don't think anybody was like, yeah, they killed all the superheroes. Yep, that's like that's very serious, and nothing will happen to fix that.
Well, yeah, I bet a lot of the moviegoers felt that way. It's you're looking at it from a longtime comic reader.
Yeah, that's true.
Like there's a history of movies having consequences. There's also a history of comic books not having consequences. So
that's true. Maybe it was an impact, but the thing is, let's say, well, I guess maybe there will always be somebody new showing up that isn't bothered by it.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Okay.
Oh man, I've got some tough decisions here to make.
What are you making decisions on?
I'm trying to find some good reference to do an adding machine that spits out title graphics. And what I'm thinking of doing is basically having the same title graphic, but making it so that how does this make sense? Having the same title graphic, but making it so that we can use OBS to change out the text, so it's just one animation.
Oh, cool.
It's not like, I don't know how many categories you came up with, but it was a lot.
Yeah, I think it was like 6. Are you talking about for the format of the show in general, or?
Yeah, the review show. I should. Yeah. So
I'm gonna have to pull that up too. I should make like a Word document or something of that, so that we can, or not a Word document, but a Google Doc or something, so we can use that when we're.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we got.
Okay, this
12 sections. You're thinking 6 just for the review.
Yeah.
But then there's the news, the plugs, the mailbag, audience participation, mailbag thing, and then the end plugs. So that's like 6, 7, 8, 9, possibly 10. But anyway, it'll be easy because I will just make it happen with all one animation.
With magic, with Corey's magic. Keep the illusion, Corey.
So I'm just trying. Yes, I will wave my magic wand.
You're like, right now, I'm looking through my spell book.
If people understand that it's work and not magic, then they pay me more. So
that's true. That's true. If they only found out that you were just hitting the magic button.
Yes, magic button.
I do feel like there's a perception of that in a lot of places.
Oh yeah.
They
It's
think,
still work. It's just it's got to be on the right. If I'm going to have it scroll, people read left to right. So the thing itself needs to be on the right side of the screen so that as it spits it out. Yep. Okay. I need a different angle then. Okay. So here's a question.
mm-hmm.
Are we okay talking about this on the air?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So the question is, are we going to, have you given any thought to where this is going as far as like what channel it's going to be on? Any of that,
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, what are your thoughts on it?
My main thought is I think it should be housed on its own thing, be like its own channel by itself, but maybe it goes live.
idea, because I don't think either of us have like a giant. I mean, you definitely have a larger following on your YouTube than I do, but I still think it's not like large enough to where neither of ours are large enough to where we would have to be concerned that
Right.
no one's, I don't know. I'm okay
Well,
with it.
And I also think that we could go live on either of our channels and then house the video after the fact on a different channel.
Ooh, so like almost like broadcasted on our channels as it goes.
Right. But then so it'd be live on our channels, so we get all of our subscribers involved, but if they wanted to watch it after the fact, we'd take the video down and they'd have to go to the other channel. And then if anybody new finds us and they want to do whatever, they don't have to sift through Illo Talk and 48-hour art check and car vlogs and
couple downsides of that.
Yeah.
If we have it go to our channels, right?
Yeah.
And then you upload it on a new channel, you miss all the chat thread.
Yeah, I haven't seen the chat thread come over anyway already.
What do you mean?
They used to do that. The chat thread, as I've gone back and watched like Artcasters after the fact and stuff,
mm-hmm.
It doesn't seem to be persistent anymore.
It's sticking around on my streams. Like it takes about a day or two for them to have it uploaded, but
so maybe I'm just
right under the video.
So I mean, and another option is you do what the Twitch streamers do, and you have the chat on the screen.
No, that's doable.
Or whatever. I mean, and we can pull up relevant comments or whatnot, and that's a good argument for being part of the show. 1 second, I've got to do something to my computer.
No problem, dude. All right, so this is going to be
So I am dreading the day that this stops working. I have this like ancient Cintiq, and it works for about a day and a half, and then I have to unplug it and plug it back in, and then it starts working again.
Okay.
Which makes me nervous. I bought it used on eBay in 2012.
Huh.
And it's worked really well up until this point, and now I'm wondering
if it's that the death throes.
Yeah, I really hope not, because I really do not want to buy another one. I think Wacom's a problem, but then I'm not there with the iPad yet.
Yeah, I like just being on it. I still like Wacom's the best, but I don't even use the screen ones. I just have like a
How do you do that though?
I don't know, like an Intuos
Yeah.
Pro. That's what I have.
But how do you? I've never been able to draw on an Intuos. I can trace, but I can't like draw.
Well, I just got used to it, so it's like it depends. I think if I were doing more stuff on the screen, but it's weird. Like at work, I have one of those, like the Cintiq, and I just keep the screen off because I actually find it annoying too. Like I wish there were a setting or something where you could make it something other than like just a third screen that you didn't have to like drag crap to. And I don't know. I just find it really annoying.
I want to be honest. That's bizarre, man.
It might be strange, but I literally like it slowed me down rather than helped me, which is strange.
Yeah.
But then again, working on something like what I'm working on now might be faster. I don't know. It's just kind of weird. Okay, so this is where he's going to be really serious. Okay, just gonna kind of mock this and do a real quick sketch kind of thing. Do.
Yeah, so that's what I was mainly thinking is it could go live on our channels, however we want to figure that out. And then after the fact, we port it over, figure out what we want to do with the chat. Everybody who wants to be there live can be there live, but then it's in a format that YouTube will still promote after the fact because they punish live streams afterwards. Another thing to think about with the chat is unless we put it up on the screen, people on Twitch aren't going to get the YouTube chat and people on YouTube aren't going to get the Twitch chat.
That is true. I mean, it helps to have I do like the shareability just in the case of like a random stranger throwing something weird up, even though you can have that kind of moderated out, but then again, that can also be interesting and funny.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm kind of whatever.
We'll both get into the habit of treating it like radio.
Yeah.
And not responding to something that people have to see. Like I've noticed like a lot of times when I bring a comment up, like you, me, or Scott will look at it and go, oh yeah, that's a good point, but not mention what the point is.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I
So we'll have to get used to doing that too.
Yeah, that's one thing I've been trying to do on this stream a little more is like, when I see something, kind of read it out. But I do think like the radio format kind of idea is pretty dead on. I think it'll be possible. It's just going to be more. The difficult part is going to be making time to read the books, but then again, it's not a bad like. It's weird because there's certain things where it's like if you're forced to do it, like that would suck, but like that actually would be good because it would keep me, personally, like it would keep me inspired and kind of
right
forcing me to actually keep up with graphic novels or touch base with graphic novels I haven't read in a long time. So I don't mind that.
Yeah, that's good. And I think we've both been wanting to read more anyway.
Yeah.
We both listen to a lot of audiobooks and podcasts, but I like reading graphic novels.
Yeah, graphic novels are great, and I think it'll be a good way to kind of touch base with stuff I've lost touch with, and like I've not been paying as much attention to,
Yeah.
So we'll see. I wonder, what does this look like? Just gonna check something. Ooh, Corey, you mind if I switch formats to this real quick?
Sure.
Okay, cool. Boom. Yay. Because I'm like, I definitely want people to be able to follow along too. That TV thing looks so rad, dude.
Thanks.
Very nice.
Kind of liked the idea of it.
And it does really remind me of like MTV.
Well, and I also like that I already had it lying around, and so it didn't take me really any time to do it.
That's true. That is true. I kind of like that idea. I do have a TV as well. We could both be on TVs.
Yeah, that could be fun.
Different styles of TVs. Who knows?
I mean, we could like constantly be framed with just random retro tech.
It also would just be funny if it was just like random GIFs framing us out off the internet. Our show could look like a MySpace page. It's got like glitter.
Have you seen the cartoon version of The Amazing Screw-On Head by Mignola?
Dude, we just had some person join us in the chats, and they just mentioned Max Headroom. We were just talking about that. Yes. Sorry, what was that question?
I was asking if you had seen The Amazing Screw-On Head with Mike Mignola's. It was a test pilot for a cartoon.
I've never seen the test pilot for that. Is it cool?
Yeah, it's pretty rad. But I bring it up because one of my favorite pieces of animation, Abraham Lincoln is the president, and they have him talking to Amazing Screw-On Head, who's an agent of the U.S. government during the Civil War.
Okay.
And but they're doing a video conference.
Huh.
But the video conference is a giant wall that is printed of Abraham Lincoln's face, where his mouth and his eyes are. It has like a triangle of like open mouth, closed mouth, and it just like rotates. It rotates as he speaks and then occasionally blinks. And it's like my favorite. It's my favorite piece of animation, and it has been for years. Just that idea, I just think is such a rad idea.
It's so awesome. I'm trying to think of favorite bits of animation. It's funny because I haven't paid as much attention to like the technical part of animation.
Yeah.
I do like. There's some really weird things. Like in The Rescuers, there's a scene where the villain is changing their eyelashes. And that is one of the most awesome pieces of animation I've ever seen in my life. Because like just the character work on like the eyelid pulling forward and stuff, it's just so good.
Yeah, I remember that. I don't like that.
But I'm like, that's one that comes to mind probably more recently. But yeah, it's funny. I do kind of wonder, because I did notice that when I was doing those animations for the album that I did, where I was just doing like some music videos or whatever, I did start dissecting a little more stuff I saw where I'm like, oh, they just, where you're like looking at it and you're like, I know that trick.
I was just drawing for however long on the wrong layer. I want to shoot myself.
I have had that happen so many times.
Oh my gosh, that's so annoying.
So some person has joined us in the chats, and they're literally listed. I'm going to show everyone, but they're listed as some person. So some person, who are you, and what brings you here?
I've seen him around though. I can't remember what stream I saw him on.
Yeah, I feel like some person was on this stream before, so I'm just like, I'm curious what they're up to and how it's going and stuff. Yeah. But anyhow. I had my Photoshop crash, and I was noticing, I don't know if you have this happen a lot, but the new CC. It crashes
Oh,
constantly.
it's super buggy, especially Illustrator gets really bad when you introduce any pixel graphics, any raster graphics. It's like how did it get worse at handling simple things like a JPEG?
Yeah, I don't understand. But it's really good at like auto saving sometimes when it crashes. So that's nice.
Yeah, almost out of necessity because it crashes so much now.
Yeah, like it never really had that functionality before, so I appreciate them adding it when they decided to have it crash all the time.
I like how we assume that was a decision they made. You know what?
Like, you know what? This is really buggy and is going to crash a lot, so let's make it more like InDesign, which has always been buggy and crashes a lot. And that has an autosave function, so people forgive it.
I think people forgive it because it's slightly better than Quark, and we've never gotten over the fact that Quark was a thing.
Quark was terrible. I mean, like, the thing that was so cool with InDesign was the fact that you could see what you were working on. You didn't have to guess based on like
revolutionary
this massive madness,
Oh man,
the lack of a preview on that was just
that's an old piece of software though. I mean, back in the day, that was
well, that was the game.
People that were using Quark are like, man, this is so much better than cutting this out with scissors.
Yeah.
Like physically cutting the paper and doing paste up.
It's like, dude, this is so much better than MS Paint. I can't believe it.
Oh man.
Okay,
yeah, I got a question about Claris work and MS Paint. Okay. You know how everybody, well, I don't want to say everybody, but most people who do what we do, like autosave, like just habitually, like your left hand just automatically just does Command S or Control S like every couple of seconds.
Yeah.
Where did you learn that? Because I learned it trying to draw pixel by pixel on a Mac Classic.
Mac Classic?
Yeah, like an Apple IIe. Let's see. No, Apple IIe was what we had at school. My parents bought in 1988. I think it was a Macintosh Classic, and it had like a drawing program. It had 256 different colors that you could use, and I remember I had file save and file save as just like automatically as soon as I was about to do something a little bit risky, because this is before like you had like marquee selections or lasso tools or anything, or layers. I would do a file save as instead of a file save, and then I could make a mistake, and if I didn't like it, I could just go back to the previous version of that. That's what I was doing when I was 7.
I can see that. It's weird. I did not have a computer until like 98.
Oh wow!
Like I literally didn't have a computer at my house. So so I had
you graduated high school in 98, right?
What's up?
Didn't you graduate high school in 98?
99.
99?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not that much older than you. Did you just miss the cutoff?
What do you mean?
Well, I graduated in 98. I thought we were.
Oh, I did like kindergarten late kind of thing.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
So,
yeah, we had a computer. I didn't have the internet until much later. But I remember going to my cousin's house and using the internet, and he was making fun of me because I was typing a long email. He's like, "Dude, you don't know what email is for. For quick, short communication."
The internet was hilarious back then because I remember going over to friends' houses and we'd go into like music chat rooms.
Yep.
And just cause a ruckus by like going in like a hardcore punk chat room and being like, Green Day's really punk rock, and they're like, they're not punk rock, and we're like, what
is it about?
Get them pissed off.
What is it about kids that age that we're just naturally trolls because I
Yeah.
used to do the same thing.
But back then it's weird because like trolling was a little different and like more harmless. I don't know if that maybe
yeah.
in my head it was, but it seemed a lot more harmless and lighthearted and kind of like more like a prank call kind of thing.
Yeah. No, trolling today is scary. But like trolling in 1994,
yeah,
it was like, just going on a chat room. Like we used to go, I remember going on this movie quote chat room where somebody would put a movie quote and then whoever guessed it first, they'd get to do the next movie quote. And I just typed back and to the left over and over and over and over again. Back and to the left, back and to the left. Until like 15 people had said, the JFK documentary, stop doing this. It's like, I'm sorry, I'm 14.
That's pretty good. All right, so I need to kind of repeat this. I think. Yes. It's where I use animation tricks here.
Wow. So frustrated that I'm redrawing this.
Okay, so it's going to say... Yeah, that sucks, man. That sucks to like... It sucks to make progress and realize you're on the wrong layer. Like that can be brutal.
Yep.
I've actually had that happen before. At least, luckily, who knows? Did you damage the other layer, the wrong layer?
No, because I'm
good.
going really fast. So this is the annoying part about it is this: I was trying to go quickly, and I'm just trying to get this done in not my normal way, where it takes me 9 years to do it.
Yeah, this has been my life the past week or so, where I've been hoping to not take 10 hours to get this stuff done, but I'm realizing like I think these pages usually take me about 3 hours
to complete or to rough
to thumbnail.
Yeah.
But I mean, technically these are like thumbs / roughs, so it kind of makes sense, but still, it's too much time, man.
Yeah.
Then again, I'm on page 84, so whatever.
Oh, that's pretty dang impressive.
Yeah. It's funny. I think I was asking you, I don't know, you were on one of these a couple days back or something, and I was asking like when I started because I couldn't remember, and you were like, I don't remember. Like none of us were going to remember. So I like looked at it, and I think I did actually start in like June or something like that, but it was like I didn't start doing every day like the accelerated pace until like December, or actually, sorry, the end of November. So yeah, because till then I was kind of casually working on it and trying to kind of mostly polish up like the pitch and all that stuff. So
what is going on?
But so like, it's not as fast as I'd like, but it is still making progress. It's like weeding the yard today, where I did not finish. But
that honestly sounds like a nightmare.
What?
Every time you describe weeding the yard, it just sounds like my personal nightmare.
Yeah,
like I live in snow, and that's horrible. But at the same time, it's like when I'm done with it, it's off my driveway until it snows again. It's not like I live in an environment where like as I'm doing it, it's like seeding the ground with more things that are going to grow up.
Well, what's cool is I'm doing like legit weeding, so it's not like in theory it shouldn't be as problematic again.
Right.
Because I'm literally like derooting each weed, which is the only way to really effectively do it without totally damaging the soil.
Right.
Because if you use like weed killer or whatever, it's like great, but then if we want a garden or anything, it might be kind of a nightmare. So
yeah, that stuff is really bad.
So I think like in theory, and so far it's held true where it's like the areas I've weeded have not had weeds come back.
That's good.
The areas other people have weeded have had weeds come back. So I'm like, okay, I know I need to do this.
I'm overthinking it, Josh. I am overthinking it.
You are?
Yeah, I just keep thinking of all the cool things I can do with it if I give myself, like, I just thought, what would be really cool is if I could push every single button on this thing in the animation. So of course that's what I'm doing now, is drawing every single button separately on its own layer.
That's pretty cool.
It'll be cool, but it's going to be one of those things that takes me forever. Why do
I
we
like
do
that though. I think, Corey, like one thing that's really cool about pretty much everything you do is you'll put in a lot to make it the best you can make it. And I think that's notable.
It's something.
Well,
right.
Seems like almost like, some people call it work ethic or
Stupidity, craziness. I do have to weigh. I do have to continually remind myself, like, the use case of things. Like, I'm, like, this will be used for one animation really quickly. That will not, I don't know.
Yeah, I had a few moments like that. I can understand how that happens with animation though, because I had a few moments like that with those music videos where I'd spend a long time on an asset that after editing it and stuff would show up on screen for like 5 seconds. And I was like, why did I,
right.
Like, I didn't need that. Like I could have just shown a still and it would have had the same impact,
Yeah. That's a big problem I've got. Big problem.
It's hard to gauge though, because it's hard to tell what's going to show in seconds. By the way, follow up on some person we never heard back. So
maybe they got uncomfortable when we asked about who they were, and they're like, I've intentionally myself some person so that no one asks me that.
Or they were about to say who they were and then realized that they were exposed and then had to like break the false tooth that had like the cyanide in it. They're like, crap, it's been found out.
Foiled again.
I've always thought it would be fun to have like a fake thing like that. Like, the spy kits where you have like, I don't know, it's like the woman's makeup kit. And then she's found out and she breaks the mirror and there's like a cyanide thing in there. She's like, I've been found out. Whatever it is. Actually, I think it's usually like a lipstick thing with women. With men, it'll be like a watch or a false tooth or something.
Did you see?
So I want to have something like that with like just an ibuprofen in it or something. So like, so just mid conversation with somebody, if they ask something, I could just walk up to them and be like, the eagle has landed. And if they don't respond well, I'll just be like, crap. Pop the ibuprofen in my mouth.
And then fall over foaming. What you should do is you should pop like something that foams, like a what is that? Plop plop fizz fizz. Oh, what a relief it is. What is that?
Alka-Seltzer.
Alka-Seltzer. Pop an Alka-Seltzer and then just really freak people out.
That's true. Or just like be like, hold for a second, like brush your teeth really quick. What are you doing? I've been found out. Let's see. Although it is funny because when you're looking for assets and stuff for this, I would definitely recommend check out the International Spy Museum and stuff too.
Oh yeah, I should.
Could have a umbrella gun thing.
Is that public domain stuff?
That is where you'd have to find out. I'm guessing you could start by looking at like Wikimedia Commons. That's always a good start.
Yeah. Right.
But you would wonder because I think that's a national museum. So
Yeah, but
what is it? A
if it's
private
if
collection?
it's federal, then it would be public domain. But if it's federally funded but private, then it would not. Hey, how does music work? I was thinking about this today, and I thought, I don't know how to figure that out. So,
How music works from OBS?
no, how does music work for copyright if you do a cover? Because I know you copyright the recording of the thing, but also the lyrics of something
Mm-hmm.
are copyrighted. So, how do covers work?
So technically, a cover, if you don't pay for it, you're going to owe money on it.
Huh.
So, like, I mean, it's kind of like the same rules as like cons, I guess, right? It's like you probably play a live show and do a cover,
Yeah,
and be okay. But if you promoted the live show because of the cover, then you might owe some royalties. You know what I mean?
okay.
Like, if you, but if you publish a cover, like an MP3 or something, or like you're actually selling it, like you're making money on it, yeah, you'd get sued, man. You could get sued. And there's a lot of algorithms that are really good at catching usage of songs that haven't gotten permission.
So I've often wondered that about like YouTube and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think most covers people are either opting to like make a deal to do it, or they're probably not getting a ton of attention. And then if they are getting attention for the covers, either they've been caught and just they've decided not to litigate it, or they've probably had to pay like a percentage of whatever royalties they're making. I would imagine a lot of the times it's just a matter of like they're making royalties off of them. So
interesting.
And then there's, different publishing programs where you can like, if you upload a CD with a cover, you can actually say the cover that's on there and then work out a profit sharing deal before you even publish it.
Mm-hmm.
So like, they get 10% or 20% or something. Or you could just change the lyrics to say Hare Krishna, and then, and then suddenly it's, instead of She's So Fine, it's doodling, doodle, Hare Krishna, doodling, 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 right? Like, anyhow, sorry. That's one of the most notorious cases of somebody stealing a song without realizing it.
That's awesome.
Have you heard that controversy?
I don't know what you're talking about.
So George Harrison wrote this song in the 80s. I think it was the 80s that he published it, but it was a really good song. And then, and because I'm kind of in the zone working, I'm like blanking out on the song he wrote. But it's called My Sweet Lord, and it's like, my sweet Lord, oh my Lord, and then it ends up like having this like Hare Krishna thing at the end of the song, but it's a really pretty song. And then people realized that it was exactly the same, like almost to a T, like melody, chords, everything as He's So Fun, doodling, doodling, doodling. So they ended up suing, but Harrison actually, like, the second it was brought to him, was like, no, you get, like, I forget, I think he gave him like a very, if not all the profits from it, because he was like, I didn't even know that. But he was like, kind of acknowledged, like, it must have been like back there in my head,
Yeah.
Which is tough when you're writing music, because you could, in theory, have like a melody you heard 10 years ago stuck in your head and think it's a unique melody.
Right.
And then you're working with limited chords and stuff. So
yeah, that happens in art too. Like I had this idea, totally just had this image in my mind where I was like, yeah, this is gonna be great. I'll have this skull like opening its mouth like it's screaming. It'll be awesome. And I totally did it. and then I posted it to Instagram. And then the next day in class, I realized as I saw my TA that she had just done one just like that. And I was like,
no.
oh, that's where the idea was. So I went to her and I was like, hey, I'll take it down if you want. I'm really sorry. And she's like, dude, yours is totally different than mine. But like the composition, like everything about it, I was like, it's like, this is totally unintentional. She's like, yeah, it's not a big deal. I was like, okay, because I'll take it down. And that's like one of my favorite animations I did now. It's actually right here. If I push this button, it's the second TV there.
Oh, I love it. It's awesome.
Okay. Yeah, so here I am drawing one button at a time. Like a fool.
All right, so I am at about the halfway point. I'm wondering what this next section is going to be. That's cool though. I like the punching machine. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it'll be good.
You know what's funny? I think my dad had a calculator like that, like for doing bills.
One of the adding machines.
Yeah.
Yeah, most people did.
Yeah. It'd be fun to have one of those actually. To write up receipts.
I worked at a place where the people in accounting still used these, and I was like, that's the most archaic thing I've ever seen. How is this happening right now? And it turns out like it's still a very common tool. Like a lot of accountants still use this type of thing.
Do they use what's that mathematical thing with the balls?
Abacus?
Yeah, are they rocking an abacus still too? Or just
no. Oh. But like rolls of paper and stuff. And these are people that like I asked them one time, I was like, I don't explain this to me. I don't understand what's going on. Like, what are you talking about? I was like, well, like, you know Excel better than anybody I know. Like, you can do like pivot tables and conditional formatting and like go in and, you know, if then statements, like really complicated things. And what I don't understand is you're using like 1940s technology here. And he was like, yeah, it's faster to do it on paper. And then if it's just quick. And I was like, okay. So like they'd be like adding up like all the checks that they brought in that day or whatever. It's like faster to do it that way than it is apparently to, why did I do that? I need to not talk while I do this. That's why I'm massively inefficient at this.
No worries. That's partially why I'm being a little quiet right now, because I'm writing some type.
Garbage.
And one thing I'm getting more comfortable with streaming is like, you know, it's just sort of fun, like in this, especially this stream. So I don't feel like a need for us to constantly be like on or engaged or talking. Although I am enjoying the conversation, but I think the point is just like, if you got to have moments of quiet to write or whatever, or get into a section, that's good. Sometimes I'll just verbally walk through what I'm doing too for people. So,
yeah,
you know, with my thousands of viewers.
Right. I'm glad you're explaining that to the masses.
What's interesting that I've noticed so far at this stream, and I doubt it's going to happen today because it's a Sunday, but what's interesting is I always think it's like this crazy late hour and no one will show up, and then people show up like the last hour. It's really strange.
Yeah. Part of the problem that I have is I have a habit of putting my stylus in my mouth, which is prohibitive to speaking.
Maybe you need to put that I don't know if you had this when you were a kid. There's like that nail polish that tastes disgusting. I don't even know if they make that stuff anymore. They used to do that.
It's probably massively toxic given the era that existed in.
Yeah, but I know like when I was a kid, there was like this nail polish to help
Oh yeah.
thumb sucking that was like it tasted like I can't even describe the taste. It was like rancid, just like if you took like bourbon and let it sit outside in like the hot heat, just open and just go totally bad, and then maybe mixed it with like wine that was bad, like not fresh wine, like spoiled wine, and then you mix that with like battery acid, and then you like coated that on people's fingernails when they had trouble biting their nails. Yeah.
Yep. I remember all kinds of different things that people would do. I don't know. It's amazing that humans still exist, given that parenting books are convinced, that this is the worst thing ever. It's like everyone did that 3 years ago. Literally everyone did that.
Yeah, and I think different things work with different kids too. So I think it's like, I don't know. But
my favorite example of that is when Benji was young. Which one was it? It's one of these three. Either sleeping on their back was the worst thing ever and they were going to die, sleeping in their stomach was the worst thing ever and they were going to die, or sleeping on their side was the worst thing ever and they're going to die. It rotates through every couple of years. Do you remember which one it was? Every couple of years, it's like there's a new study or a new, thought leader comes out and they're like, if you have, it's like everybody's trying to guess like what causes SIDS and all kinds of different stuff. And it's always one of those things. And yet I remember talking to my grandpa and he was like, yeah, back in the day, he had like 7 kids. Back in the day, we didn't even have car seats. And I said, what do you mean? He's like, well, because we were talking about not having seatbelts. I said, what did you do with the infant? And he's like, oh, I don't know. I got to think. It's like 50 years ago. I think we just like stuck him in a bassinet and tossed him in the trunk. Because like they didn't have like closed off trunks. It was like a wagon. So it would just be like,
yeah,
you would just put the kid in a basket in the back of
the car. Yeah, because I mean, like, it's funny. Like, we're almost the equivalent of that too. Because when I was a kid, growing up in Texas, it's like there were no. I mean, like, I don't think they even had safety belts. You definitely didn't have a law about like, being in a car seat after like at age 3 or whatever. You were just kind of back there, and I do remember. We had like a station wagon where we just crashed. Like all the kids would just fall asleep in the back. You'd lay down, fall asleep. We used to call it the way back. Just a different time,
Oh yeah.
Although that it's funny because like a lot of stuff changes, but like that makes a little sense because there are a lot of statistics and there's a lot of evidence that like. It's not good to not wear a seatbelt.
Oh yeah. No, I'm not saying.
Especially having a minor who has really no choice in the matter.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that the change is bad or silly. What I'm saying is that some of it is super arbitrary, but I'm just amazed that people still exist because of like.
I'm amazed. Yeah.
How horrible things used to be.
Well, the funny thing is,
there was a period in time where this is like. Where people would routinely like abandon children on the steps of a cathedral, and the Catholic Church would like rent out the orphans to chimney sweeps because the kids fit down the chimneys better than the adults, and then they would just die after a couple years of that, and like the church was making money off of basically child slave labor. And no one thought it was weird. And there's stuff like that. And then there's also stuff like, what was the other example? I thought of another one. But it's like the craziest things where nowadays it sounds like the most horrific thing ever because it is.
Yeah.
Like questioned it because it was just the way it was. Oh, I know what it was. I was watching Iron Surface. Spike on Twitter was talking about how like we joke nowadays about people's dad like running out to get a pack of cigarettes and then never coming back, because there was an era where you could completely disappear. Like there was no internet, there was no global communication, there was no like you could move like 30 miles down the road and completely disappear, and no one would have any idea that you existed anymore. And so you get married at like 17, you have 5 kids by the time you're 24, and you're like, I'm out. And you just move, 2 hours drive down the road, and then no one would know where it was over. You were just gone.
Yeah, that is weird to think about. Like there was an era where you could kind of disappear completely. It's man, there's a lot of stuff that's strange. I mean, like just the fact that like it wasn't abnormal to be like, well, we're having trouble making some ends meet, so gotta have the 4-year-old daughter go to the sewing factory. Like, just, I mean, just some kind of really strange things that have shifted culturally that I think are good shifts.
Oh, yeah.
I would hope most people think are good shifts.
Well, there's people that will argue like child labor laws like ruined America.
Yeah, I've heard those people. Although, you know what's weird? I will almost respect those people more for at least kind of sticking to it, because it's kind of like the I've explained that to you. Like one of the things about gun rights that changed my mind was just applying like some basic questions to it, where I was like, okay, so what's the purpose of this? Basically by doing this, am I going to be able to like prevent like a government armed with nuclear missiles from like doing what it wants? And then does that mean if I can't, like, in the whole purpose of gun ownership, like it was just kind of a basic logical question where I'm like, do I want my neighbors driving tanks? I'm like, no. So, I mean, I definitely believe in some kind of regulation. What I actually admire are people, though, who will, like, weirdly, I mean, I don't necessarily, I guess I respect people who, like, if they're really hardcore on gun rights, they're hardcore on that too, where they're just like, yeah, people should be able to own a tank and drive a tank to work.
I can't. Yeah.
At least it's logically consistent, is my point. Like I'm not saying it should be, but
I think the conversation is logically consistent, but it can't actually be. I just don't think any rational. I just think people don't like to be wrong in conversations.
Yeah.
I just can't think that they're like, oh yeah, totally. Absolutely that.
Yeah, I haven't met many who are, but my point is I have met a few, and actually in those cases, like even with the child labor stuff, where it's like usually the discussion that'll end up with that is you saying like, well, do you want to go back to like complete deregulation where you can have, no like child labor laws and stuff gone? And most reasonable people are going to be like, no. And a lot of it's because like their initial position isn't consistent. It's a little flawed, right? I'll actually, in a weird way, like I won't agree with or even think the person's right, but in a weird way, I think at least they're being consistent. If they're like people who are like complete, oh no, did you see that?
No, what?
Oh, it just crashed again. Quarterly, my Photoshop has now crashed twice in the process of doing this.
What are you? Is it the stream?
No, stream's running.
No, but I mean, what is causing your computer to be so taxed?
Oh, and I hadn't saved any of that. That's really sad.
That sucks. I hate that. I'm just gonna eyeball. This is stupid. I'm gonna eyeball this and just see if I'm right.
That's sad because I was so close. I was actually close to done with that panel.
That sucks.
Okay, we're at the 2-hour mark. I am going to take my 2-second break, get a refill of my coffee. I thought I would be 2/3 done, but apparently CC is a beast with 3 horns, and I don't know why 3, because crashed twice, and to me that's worse than a beast with 2 horns. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
How many eyes, though?
what's up?
How many eyes? 30 eyes?
Yeah, I could see, 30 eyes, like a couple tentacles for a nose. We need to draw this beast, but I will be right back in about 20 seconds, and then I'm going to finish off this page, and this is going to happen because that is what you do when you're making comics. So I'll be right back.
I will also be back.
And lock this business. All right, so I am back and rocking. Let's see here. Like I said at the top, though, that crashing thing of Photoshop on CC can be maddening. All right, so we're going to do this, have and I'm just going to be a little looser with this too, because I was being a little too tight, I think, with that drawing. So here we go, and then basically another thing that I rarely forget, because I'm always working in these programs, and they do have a tendency to crash every once in a while, is to always hit Command S to save. And here we go. And I'm going to be able to save. I think this will work. So in this panel, it's basically going to be having this guy kind of point to this gun that he's holding. And here we go. Then the hand's going to be pointing to the other character, which I had blocked out, but now I will have to. Okay. Okay, there we go. Boom. thumbnails anyway, so that's good. At least that wasn't on a final. Save a lot, and we can avoid crashing. So it is funny to me because my friend Corey was on here, and he was having similar issues where he had worked on the wrong layer, and then I've had 2 crashes. So needless to say, save your work, guys, when you're working on it. All right, where are we looking at? Will this be a snapback? I think it might be. Okay, so there's the snapback. Working on it. Welcome back, Corey.
You?
I'm okay. Got a refill of my Magateers over here.
I learned a new trick for my back.
A new trick?
Yeah.
What is that?
I got a foam roller. Have you ever seen those big foam rollers?
No, but it sounds kind of awesome. Explain it.
They're like, it's probably like 12 inches in diameter, and it's about 3 feet wide. It's like a yard wide. It's just like a dense foam. And shoot, that looks weird. Anyway, I just lay down on it. I put my neck on it, and then I lift myself up so my entire weight is on it. And then you just walk it back. So you basically roll yourself on it back and forth. I'm doing that a couple times a day, and it is like magic.
Dude, that's awesome.
I have like a persistent knot, like in between my left shoulder blade and my spine, like just all the time.
Oh, that sucks.
And just because of like drawing and like leaning on my arm and whatever, like shoulder injury, like I can't lift my arm up very well. So to get my arm in the air, I have to like shift my spine into this scoliosis pose. Anyway, and this guy was like, "Hey, you should try one of these foam rollers." And my wife had one, being a runner, and it is one of the best things ever.
Awesome.
Just been doing it for a couple of days, and it's like the first time in years where I haven't had like a dull to sharp pain in my back.
Mm-hmm.
It's great.
It's cool.
Wide, not too wide.
Well, I think the solution to everything is a rowing machine. That's my prescription.
I can't get into the rowing machine, man. I tried.
You gotta try a water rower, and you'll see. So
I got the piston based rower. I need to get back into it, but it's so horrifically boring. How long do you do it? Do you do it for like I tried it for like 15 minutes a day? That is the longest 15 minutes.
So I do right now. I still haven't really upped it yet. I'm doing a mile, and then I do my lifts. So it takes about 30 minutes to do the mile. Sometimes like 20 minutes. It gets a little shorter as I get more used to it.
Yeah.
But I'm probably gonna have to extend that. Eventually, I want to be at the point where I'm doing like 2 miles. And I think for people who, well, I don't know, maybe I'm just a wuss or something, but it's like I do think a mile of rowing is a lot different than a mile of running.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because I will tell you, my heart, like if I run a mile, I don't feel what I feel in my heart when I do a mile rowing.
That's wrong. Sorry, the paper rolls off the top, so it's got to feed through the underside.
Mm-hmm.
Or does it? Where does it print it though? It prints it. Does it print it before it rolls it out?
I think it rolls the other way, and I think it prints out the front, like where that plastic thing is, because the plastic thing usually has a little ridge on it to tear.
now I've got to. So I gotta look at some. Yeah, it's like that.
This does not look like the same character because I forgot his beard. What is going on? And you know what I realized too? The display has been stuck on the same picture. Oh my gosh.
Why is your computer sucking today?
I don't know, man. It's been all weird and funky. Funky business computer.
Oh, we should do something with like an old vintage reel to reel.
Do you dig it? Okay, so let me try. See if I can. There we go. Okay. Did that work? Did that make it refresh? Yes. This is what I've
Why
been.
did I think that there was an exposed? No,
Okay. Much better.
Let's read.
All right, what were you saying, Corey?
I'm just mumbling to myself about perspective. Yeah. Nothing. I'm not saying anything. I just did that wrong. And in my mind, it made sense and it doesn't make sense. So now I have to come up with, okay, so hold on. If this, you can ignore me. I'm talking to myself.
No. I find it interesting because I talk to myself.
One of those construction things that has to work because I can't, like in illustration, a lot of people don't know this that have never tried to animate something. In illustration, you can fake so much until you try to make it move. And then you're like, oh.
Yeah, it's like, because like the thing is I haven't done a ton of animation, but I have done a lot of illustrated assets for people to use in motion.
Yeah.
And there is a certain way you have to build things. And like, it's one of the reasons like a lot of video games love using isometric.
Right, because you don't have to go with perspective.
Yeah. But it's definitely fascinating, like building things for animation as opposed to illustration, because if you pick a really weird angle, then now you're kind of in a bind when it comes to moving it, you know?
Yeah.
I actually think you should be okay because in theory, the roll is not going to show really a lot of movement.
No, but my idea,
so just that sheet needs to.
My idea is that the paper has to come off the roll and reveal the title.
What I'm getting at is like, so if the roll is going forward, right? Like, let's say this is the roll, this is the slip of paper, the loose part of the roll, and this is the catch.
Yeah.
Then it's basically like the part after the catch that you have to illustrate, right? So technically, you could have the thing coming. I think you're okay. I don't know. Maybe this is one of those things it would take too long to explain what I want to do, but it'll be slightly different than that. Because I want to see the paper actually come out of the machine, the start of the paper. Like I want it to start like torn off like this. Oh, okay.
And then like roll up this way and then fluidly like go off, and we'll like track the camera to the left and see the message that was just typed, basically.
Okay. I need to shrink this giant head. See, I talk to myself too when I'm doing this stuff.
Good to know.
It's
yeah.
I do think like, why don't more people use sweat bullets in comics? They're so cool.
Speed lines, man. That's my thing.
I do like speed lines. So my son's really into Ninjago. And it's okay, you know, as a show.
Right.
But there was an episode today that he was watching, and I don't know anything because I don't follow it as much as he does, right? But I walked by it and it looked just like straight up Dragon Ball Z sequences of like power-ups. Yeah. And I was like, what is this? It's like animated and everything. But it was just basically making fun of the Dragon Ball Z like forever power-up where it's like, and like there's explosions and stuff in the background.
What I love
Yes,
about
there's a character in there that has like a Dragon Ball Z like riff background where like whenever he talks about his past, it goes to like an old Dragon Ball Z style parody. It's pretty funny. I was impressed by that. That's all I'm saying.
I like that type of stuff. I'm overthinking this, so let's have this go like that. I'm gonna change color.
Okay.
I have this spinny bar deal. It's gonna come over like this, and then it just disappears into the black void. We don't know where it goes or how it attaches. And then this guy comes up and goes in like that. And I will need the rest of that as a separate asset so that it can be hidden later. So that goes across like that. Josh, why did I think that I would be able to just knock this out in an hour? What was I?
Same reason I thought this, like wasn't going to take forever. We're joined by Crimson Owl Comics. How's it going, man? You still working on your horror comic? I hope so. He's working on he shared a little bit of art from it on a couple of streams ago where he has this thing where it's whenever it goes into these sequences in like a hellish environment. Correct me if I'm wrong here, Crimson Owl in the chats, but it goes from full color to like this black, white, and red. It's kind of a cool idea. I just thought it was neat. So he said, "Yep." So boom, there you go. I pay attention sometimes. Yeah, and then I think Crimson Owl also has a pretty cool like YouTube show where they review horror comics. And they actually, how I found out about that review show was they reviewed Scott's Young and the Dead. And yeah, it's a good show.
Yeah.
And good dudes.
I can't remember the other guy's name. It's Ronnie and on that show. Because I know Ronnie, he's been around forever, but I can't remember his co-host. But yeah, I like watching that stuff.
I know Ronnie too. I'm trying to. I'm bad. I don't remember either. I don't.
Oh, Jason Alexander. Yeah. He seems like a cool guy. I don't know Jason very well or at all. I don't know why I said very well, as if I knew him a little bit. I just know him from that show.
Nice.
But yeah,
good dude.
He seems cool.
Yeah, I think so. We had them on Artcasters, and it was really cool. But yeah, I definitely was digging what I'm seeing, which I'm pretty excited about. So I think that'll be a cool comic, man. Is that what you're working on whilst you watch us? Let us know.
Here's my goal. I'm going to try to draw this without screwing this up and not having it take 9 years.
That sounds like a reasonable goal. I think you could achieve that.
Yeah, set achievable goals, right?
You know what? I should make that my goal for this second comic. Is like my goal is for this to not take 9 years.
That's a great goal.
So
I'm excited for it not to take you 5 years.
Yeah, that's the goal.
Yeah.
In reality, it might. Who knows?
I don't think
I'm not going to sacrifice quality on it. So that's the catch. But
okay, this goes down.
I hope I've picked up. So look at that. I've got a good, panels, 6 panels done so far.
Oh, good.
But, 3 of them were kind of cut and paste.
Still good.
But yeah, so we're getting there. All right. Okay, I do need to refill my Magateers. I'm running low.
I feel like feel like most of this stream is just going to be me yelling obscenities under my breath at the software for doing things that I didn't want it to do.
That's funny. I think that could actually be entertaining. It's annoying to have. Oh, here we go. Jason, not Jason. My goodness, Ronnie is saying, sadly, starting the day job in 15 minutes. So I'm watching you guys. Yeah, he seems to watch this stream like right before going to work. I think
I do that sometimes. Like as my morning routine, I'll just like turn something on.
Yeah, I kind of hope we set your day off on a good note. Don't send you off like all bummed. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Just do the stupid freaking thing that I want you to do.
Yeah, it's one of the most annoying things about working on art is like trying to kind of make, especially with animations and movement and stuff. It's frustrating. And your neighbor. Okay, this is already written. Okay. Yep. Okay, now I need to pull out of here and have this actually. So I've had all these sequences that are kind of like very close up shots, and I want to kind of remind people of the environment here. So I'm going to pull out to a shot like this. And this is the beauty of like, once again, if you choose to do thumbnails or roughs, like it doesn't hurt if you're doing them digitally to just keep some of the old pages on separate layers so you can reference them. Because then I can pull from this and kind of figure out where I want to go with it. You know what? I need a different angle because I actually want it to go from here to behind him and not. So now I have to actually seek out stuff I've already done. Did you ever see the melting face panel that I did, Corey?
I saw it briefly on Instagram.
Yeah, so that was fun too. There's all these weird little tricks of the trade. That's what I need to pull open. I'm not sure if that's even going to show up, but I need to grab this bottom panel just to get that environment. I'm going to kind of stretch that wider. And that way it's just kind of reminding people of the location. Because I do think when you have a sequence that diverges to like a gun ad on the last page, it can kind of definitely throw people off from like where everything is in location. I'm also going to keep this one here up top down here so that I basically have the layout of like what I'm going to be referencing. And then I think I might be able to actually get this done in like a half an hour. Fingers crossed. Okay. I'm going to refill my Magateers. I'll be right back.
Enjoy. Okay, that's not looking horrible, which I'm going to take as a win. Not horrible. Okay, so yeah, so Ronnie's saying Jason is the writer for a lot of those mini comic bundles while Aaron Guzman does the art.
We have entirely forgotten to mention my my snafu.
What's that?
Where I accidentally streamed to your Twitch.
Oh, right.
That was funny. I didn't mean to, but after I had done it, I was like, wait, this isn't on my Twitch. And then I'm like, oh. I was glad it wasn't on like Scotch Channel or something, you know. But anyhow, that made me feel bad.
Yeah, at least it was mine. Because I have 0 audience on Twitch so far.
Yeah, on Twitch I have like maybe 2 followers or something. And then there was a girl who showed up on Twitch like a couple streams ago and added me, so that's cool. Jason is the writer of those mini comics bundles where Aaron Guzman does the art. Yeah, talk and watch others creators create instead of sad news any day. I need to learn from that. All I do, I wake up, I listen to sad news and cry, and then I listen to like weird theological stuff, and I'm like knee deep in a book right now. That's about that.
About sad news or weird theological stuff?
Weird theological stuff.
Mm.
But yeah, one of my favorite apologists is this dude named John Lennox.
Mm-hmm.
He's like an Oxford scholar, and he's a good writer. So I really enjoy what he has to say about like non-literal 6-day creation kind of stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I'm all for that.
I change it up quite a bit, but lately I've been doing the opposite of what Ronnie is suggesting, which is just binge horrible sad news.
It's kind of hard not to.
Everyone hates everyone, and here's another story about that. That's basically what it feels like lately. Is in everyone hates everyone news.
Yeah, that's true.
Some other unhinged people doing unhinged things.
Well, like I was saying at the top, like, a bunch of protesters, the quote marks, like causing a bunch of old people to have to stand for an hour longer.
Well, and like
good job, guys.
Yeah, so you don't want the vaccine. Okay, great, that's fine.
And isn't the whole big anti-vax thing usually like this is where it seems so hypocritical? Most people I know have a problem with it being like government mandated or something, right, and feel like it's like an overreach and that should be a personal decision, which I personally don't even know if I agree with, because I'm a fan of science. But regardless, okay, so let's give you that. Okay, so if that's your protest or your problem with it, then why are you, through coercion, trying to force a bunch of people who do want it and are voluntarily there to not be able to get access to a medical thing that they need? Like, that just seems really counterintuitive and against the whole argument I've heard.
I will tell you exactly why that is.
Yeah.
It is because the rules don't apply when it's your thing.
Yeah.
It's like people pretend to make rational decisions on large purchases when in actuality they're emotional decisions. But like after the fact, you will justify that purchase. But whatever. But I mean, ultimately, you made that purchase because of the way it made you feel at the time you put your money on the table. But you don't want to look like that. So you'll come up with all these reasons that justify it. But then if your emotions come in contact with those reasons at some point in time, you'll throw those reasons out the window.
Yeah, I guess.
I used to think, invisible guiding hand of self-interest, right? That was my big thing. I was like, all right, like given freedom, the market will automatically adjust for the highest quality at the lowest price because of the conflict between, supply and demand.
Yeah.
But that's assuming people make rational purchase decisions, and they've done study after study after study that people don't.
Well, this is one of the failures of like most philosophies that are like broad-reaching kind of black and white solutions. Like socialism is very similar to like unhinged capitalism. Like it's like they have the same flaw where it's like, yeah, if the world were full of just totally rational people, like either system might work, like the problem is not all people are good. And that's a big problem too, is like assuming people are inherently good, that can be a real boon.
But my argument is not.
And also they're just not rational, That's one of my big reasons for being against guns.
It's everyone
acts
more irrationally and more instinctively than they would like to believe.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
So, like I would like to think that, I think through my decisions, but in actuality, most of the time I'm reacting to situations. Like it's a conscious effort to choose to act. So anyway, and I'm not possible to choose to act or anything. I'm just saying. I don't know. Why did I start talking about that?
I don't know. I think it was because we were talking about the kind of the pseudo protest that where a bunch of old people were forced to stand for a longer period of time because.
Oh right, yeah. So it makes total sense to them to do that because that's their thing, right? Their thing is threatened, and their logic and reason doesn't matter at that point.
Yeah.
This to be smaller.
Yeah, I mean, I get the psychology behind it, but it doesn't make me like it anymore.
Oh, I don't like it either.
Especially because I have some family, having to do the same thing, like to try to get vaccinated, and so it's kind of like, don't do that to my mom, dude.
Right.
That's where I might like forget my stance on gun ownership, like, because it's like that's just a shitty thing to do to other people. Let them live their life, you live yours. Don't take it, But anyhow, so yeah, so there's that. But like, so that's the first thing I heard on the news. That was the whole point of my rant. Was like, I'm not doing a very good job if I'm trying to stay away from that kind of stuff. And it's a fine balance, right? It's like I tend to prefer knowledge over ignorance.
Yeah.
But I do think there's a fine balance where like sometimes you really do need just like some good old ignorance. There were a couple times during the whole election campaign and stuff where I like tuned out and stopped following the news for like a week, and the world didn't like get any better or worse like in the time I wasn't paying attention. It just kind of
So we both, I don't know if you want to go here on your channel or not, but there's a huge thing in the Sermon on the Mount that like I always go back to, where Jesus is like, consider the lilies, how they grow. It's like a huge, like it's like a major turning point in my mental health when I realized what I think he's saying, or at least one way that you could take it, which is like they do a lot of stuff, right? They grow roots, they grow leaves, they grow petals, they face the sun, whatever. But there's also a ton of stuff outside of their control that they don't do anything about. They don't worry about it at all.
Yeah, and then the other thing is like most of what they are doing is just sort of what's natural for them to do, and they're just kind of being lilies, like, so it's like they're rocking at what they are, and I think that's
also like they, like the times. Why did I open that up? The time to grow the roots is not when it's raining. It's when there's a drought, or when it's not raining. It's when it's tough. And anyway, it's ever since I realized like me binging the news, like I don't actually have control on a global scale to affect any sort of international change,
Yeah.
So I think you should be informed, but like not informed to the point where I was like, my mental health is being affected in a negative position.
Yeah, I think that's a good point too. And it's tough, right? Because it's like there are certain things like it's funny. So I, I'm a person who struggled with different mental disorders like my whole life. I've started coming to the conclusion that I'm very likely autistic, honestly.
Oh, really?
Because my son is, and just there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff on the spectrum that I have, like, especially like conversational stuff where it's like really big cues that like I probably had that and they probably just didn't know what that was when I was a kid, But anyhow, so I'm just throwing that out there, not as like a sympathy thing, just as a like I've got my struggles and stuff, but there is something to be said for like now I'm losing track of where I was heading there. I was heading somewhere good. I guess the point is, even in mental health, that's where I was going. Okay, so even with like all the, like one of the things I was thinking about recently, and I've thought about this for a long time, is like some mental illness is not necessarily like mental illness. It's just kind of being human, like, like meaning like we all have something weird. Like every single person has something strange that's abnormal, because normal is just like this absurd notion. I don't really know where that comes from. Like this idea of like normal, like people who have problems or people who don't.
Humans used to have a biological imperative to have some form of normalcy. Like if you deviated from what was considered normal, you were like a threat to the tribe or the village or the whatever.
Oh yeah, and I definitely think that's there. Like I think the pressure or the idea or the illusion of like a normal is there for sure. But I guess my point is just like it's just, but it's a fiction. Like I don't think there is a normal. I think people are are just nuanced and complex, and we aren't all like necessarily like what somebody would like prescribe as normal. I don't know if that makes sense. So my only point is like in a world where we're already kind of dealing with that sort of stuff, like there is some value in sort of choosing your diet, right? Because like some days you just aren't going to feel like having sometimes you need like some ice cream. Sometimes like the steak and the potatoes are awesome, and most nights I would pick steak and potatoes, but there's some nights where like ice cream's good, and or frozen yogurt or whatever your jam is.
I'll tell you what I had tonight.
And that's biblical too, where it's like, there's the whatever is good, whatever is true, like fix your thoughts on those things.
Yeah. For everything there is a season.
Turn.
Tonight
that's my favorite book in the entire Bible. And it's funny because a lot of people hate that book, but I love it.
Tonight I had chocolate ice cream in a root beer float, and it grossed everyone in my family out.
When did you have this? Tonight.
Earlier. Were you wondering whether I was like 8 or something? No, I was 40 when I tried that out.
I could do that. I could rock. Like, I don't know. Like, I mean, I don't know if you've ever tried like, well, you've done like a Coca-Cola float, right? Where you're just...
I don't like the flavor of Coke.
Oh, okay, got it. Well,
any type of cola like grosses me out.
Yeah, I could understand. It's pretty much like syrup in a can, but
I mean, I love root beer, so I'm not against like syrup in a can. It's just the specific flavor of cola, like.
Yeah, I could understand that. Well, anyhow, so yeah, that sounds delicious, and I would probably rock that business too. What's funny though, my wife even commented today because we were rocking some. She finally was able to go to, like, we don't have a good Japanese market out here. And so she actually had the ability to go to a Japanese market in Orange County a couple days ago and brought back a bunch of goodies.
That's cool.
Anyhow, so we're snacking on like these little like rice cracker things that are like, it's like soy and rice and like just kind of this spicy cracker kind of thing.
Yeah.
And my wife's like, you don't really snack. And I was like, well, I kind of do. You just miss when I snack, you know, because like my snackage is, it's like 4 a.m. I'm hungry, and then I'll just dump whatever in my stomach, you know. Preferably if it's bad for me and has a bunch of empty carbs, you know, like.
Mm-hmm.
But then my other snack points are like if I drink like booze, or if it's like something I really like. But like even on a dessert level, I'm a strange person where I don't. When I go to a grocery store, I'm thinking about like meat and savory stuff.
Yeah.
I don't like often have like cravings for like ice cream or anything like that. It's weird.
If I could get
I've
away
been like that since I was a kid, you know.
if I could get away with it, I would exclusively eat garbage food. I mean, like I could make a meal out of like a sleeve of Oreos and a bowl of ice cream.
I'm just gonna.
Nothing but like pizza.
Yeah, pizza. I definitely understand that. Like if it's a savory bad food, then I'm all about it. There's a couple things that are exceptions. One would be like brownies. If I am near a plate of brownies, just be careful because I will clear it very quickly. And I just won't stop eating. Another is weirdly enough like peanut brittle. It's a very strange, like old person style thing to be obsessed with. But I can eat like a giant box of peanut brittle in like 5 minutes.
That's funny.
And I don't know what it is about that flavor. It's just something about it. So yeah, so those are kind of my things. But what's funny is growing up, like my sisters were really into ice cream. My whole family was into ice cream, and I was always the guys like they're like, "You want ice cream?" And I'm like, "No, I'm full." They look at me like I was crazy, and I was like, "Yeah, I just don't. I don't know. I don't know."
Yeah. See, I grew up in a family where we'd get like one of those 5-gallon buckets of cheap, crappy ice cream, like at least weekly, if not twice a week. And everybody would sit down for scriptures and prayers with a bowl of ice cream at night. That was it. That's how we rolled. All right, let's see. So we're looking at
Ice cream is really good though. Depending. So what's your favorite kind of ice creams?
My favorite kind of anything at any point in time is going to be peanut butter and chocolate.
Okay.
That favorite combination works.
So you dig Reese's, that kind of stuff?
I mean, I prefer like natural peanut butter, like Adam's peanut butter that doesn't have all the sugar in it, because I feel like when you're eating Reese's, you're eating like peanut butter flavored sugar. You can almost like feel the grit of the sugar as you. That's kind of a little bit too much for me. But yeah, I don't know. Anyway, I'm kind of rambling, but
when it comes to ice cream, I love mint chip. I'm a mint chip dude.
See, like I'll eat mint chip, but like I figure if you're gonna do something like that, just brush your teeth. You know, what's the point? What's the point of the mint?
I just haven't had good mint chip.
No, see, people say that. I love that argument where it's like, oh, you just haven't had whatever. My buddy one time took us out for sushi in California.
Oh, I hate sushi so much.
Dropped like $300, right? And my wife hated it. And I love sushi. I think it's great. And every time my wife says, I don't really like sushi, somebody inevitably says, oh, you just haven't had good sushi. It's like, no, we've had like triple digit cost sushi. Like, it's not like we're running down to the gas station and buying like a $5 roll of sushi. It's like she's allowed to have this opinion.
It took me till about 2 years ago to just come out with it and be like, I don't like it. Because living in California, I think that might have been the last peer pressure kind of thing where I was like, and I don't mind like fake sushi, which I wouldn't even consider real, but like cucumber rolls and stuff, like sure, I'm all about that. That sounds delicious. California roll, sure. But like actual sushi, like sashimi and stuff, I just can't. Like I'm not a fan. It's gross, it's overpriced. I just don't like it. And I've had like really good sushi and it's not my jam,
Yeah.
I don't mind some of the veggie stuff. I just don't like the sashimi, like the real sushi, But yeah, it took me a while to admit that because I think also just going to art school where you're just like, yeah. So I finally came out and was like, I hate sushi.
That's funny. It's funny that like the whole art school snooty food thing cracks me up because it's like of all the people on the planet that have no business spending way too much money on way too little food, it's like fine art students.
That's true.
It's like, I don't know. I look at college students sometimes, and I mean, in an unhealthy way that I have dealt with problematically, probably in a disordered thinking, I was way too hungry in college, and it wasn't good. But I just look at the way a lot of them do it, and I'm like, dude, you guys have no idea what it's like to like not know where your next meal is coming from. I mean, they're like going out to eat all the time. They're like, I'm like, I was dying. If I could like, I borrowed it, not borrowed, but my aunt gave me like half a case of tuna at one point in time, like a box, like a flat of tuna fish. It was something like 45 cans of tuna or something. I literally lived on that for like half a semester. And I look at all these, you could have so little debt if you just like learned how to make a quesadilla, or a sandwich. Like you don't have to go out to eat every freaking meal.
This is true. I think it's funny because when I was in college, I was pretty broke and I was frugal on a lot of things you should be frugal on.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like equivalent to like, I used to think that I worked a lot of the hours in the day and like I worked really hard. And then I had a kid and realized what it's like to have absolutely no time and to have to carve every minute.
Right.
And realized like I wasn't working as hard as I could have. Like I had windows of time,
Yeah.
I do, while I was like pretty poor and budgeting and stuff like that, like there were stupid things. Like I probably went to movies more often, like movie theaters, just stuff like that, like little things. Yeah. But I also think some of that's just being young too, You
got to go to school where there's a lot of Mormons because then they have like cheap theaters. I don't know what.
But none of the movies are enjoyable. I'm just kidding.
That's possible.
I'm joking.
Like we would go on vacation to visit like Utah cousins or whatever. And my dad's favorite thing to do was just see as many movies as possible in the theater because they had like dollar theaters. Like you would just go see a whole movie for $1. And he's like, we were not well off. And he's like, hey, I'll take everybody out. I just took out my whole family and my sister's family. And it cost me $12. It's like,
we had a dollar theater out here too in Lancaster growing up, and same thing. Like we went to that quite a bit, like growing up, because it was like you can get a deal, and it wasn't too bad. I think now it's hard to kind of go to those without it feeling like you might get shot.
I don't worry about the shot situation, but like I don't wear clothes I like to cheap theaters anymore. not that I've been to a cheap theater in a long time, but when it's not a pandemic, I know,
It's true. I don't know if there will be theaters by the time we're out, you know?
right? Well, I mean, even before all of this hit, I was like, why are there still theaters? Like I spent $500 on a projector and a screen, and I can watch any movie I want whenever I want. I walk 5 feet from where I'm sitting right now, and I'm in a home theater, and it's like what I really don't understand is why people spend money on large TVs when you could buy a projector instead.
Yeah.
I
don't know.
This little known. I don't understand it. They're so cool and so inexpensive. I mean, I literally have, if I were to measure it, I think it's 11 feet wide. 11 or 12 feet wide. It's like it's like the equivalent of like 4 60-inch TVs. And it was super cheap compared to, like, if you were to get like a 60 or 70-inch TV, it'd be like hundreds, if not thousands of dollars more than I paid. I don't know. And I got it like 4 years ago. It's still going strong. Anyway, I love projectors. They're awesome.
Yeah, I could see that being fun. I don't know. We're on I don't even know what size our TV is. I have no idea. I don't.
Most of the time, my TV might as well be a radio.
Yeah.
Because I'm just not looking at it. I have something on in the background as I'm working.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. I think that's a personality thing or something. Because my wife likes having shows on or something, and she'll kind of zone out and like work on stuff. I can't. There's something about the visual element of it that just super distracts me. Like super distracts me, like Superman. But I don't know what it is about those that are crazy. Hard for me to focus with. I am almost there, but I think I've got crap. I think I got to do another 20 minutes or so. Brother,
am not almost there at all.
Well, then I guess we're hanging out.
I spent 5 minutes naming all of these layers so that I don't have to. Okay, so let's talk color. Do you want to have an accent color for the show, or do you want to just do like full on black and white? Or do you want to do like super desaturated with like one vibrant kind of standout?
That's a good question. Let me think about it. What are you thinking?
I'm bad at color. So if you notice, most things I do are just everything's saturated. Everything's just cranked up to the right on the HSB.
I mean, I would think because of the theme, it might be good to go with like a black and white and red. As cliche as that is, I think that might work.
Yeah, it's cliche for a reason, though.
And I might also think like, unsolved mysteries, that kind of thing, but without as much of the cheese. So yeah, I don't know, but
because I was thinking mid-century modern vintage, kind of like, I'll show you.
Oh, you could go with muted colors for sure, like a 50s color palette where you have like a mint green and like maybe like a 311 blue.
Like, let's see.
What is that?
I saw
shell pink, not pink, but actually shell pink. It's so good.
Oh, what?
Just look at you know what, Corey, would be a good palette decider is look at Fender's
their
guitar palettes, one thing I love, and I don't know if I misheard this, but I remember hearing that a lot of the early electric guitar paint shops were auto shops.
Yeah.
Like, so basically, like, you know, the poly paint and stuff they were using was like the same as like what they were using for cars, and initially it was kind of a hobby based thing. So it was like, well, we're gonna do our cars, but you know, occasionally we'll paint this guitar for this kid or whatever, you know, like, and so like a lot of the car colors of the era match the guitar colors because they were the same paint.
That makes sense. Hey, why is my Creative Cloud not syncing my color palettes?
Cool.
That is annoying.
Okay, 255. My rule of my stream is I do like this format of like kind of low expectations, just kind of hanging out and working on art, because I think it allows for people to pop in and pop out and art to get done, and I don't know, I'm starting to like it.
Very few people pop in and pop out, though. You gotta get Scott to jump in on this.
Yeah, tonight has been pretty slow in the chats too. But I also think that might be because it's a Sunday night, which is like, you know. But
Okay.
my idea is like I'm going to do this whenever I can, and when I'm working, you know.
I think
we do need to talk about what we're going to do with, well, to be continued, because I need to take a 2-second break. So.
Okay. I'm also I need to follow your lead and stand up and not.
Yes.
Ruin my back.
Stretch moments. All right. I'm also getting a refill here. Okay. All right. So back at this, need to work out my next panel, which is going to be I think actually what I can do is fit a little more type in here. So I might actually have it say I'm just going to have one word here. Oh, not here. We'll do it here. It's got a little space. So right now I'm blocking in page 84, and I just saw an email from my client that I've been working on a design for. Did one iteration of roughs. There were a few minor changes, and I just got approval. And these are files that I ink in Photoshop and then digitize. So that's something that maybe I'll do a stream when I do it, so you guys can know how to convert like a 2-color design, or how I do it, to vector. It's not like super hard in this case, the way that I build the files, but I also color separate and stuff for screen print, so they have like the 2 colors. But the way I've been working with these files is a little more loose than some of the t-shirt designs, but it might be interesting content. So we'll see how that goes. But I was happy to get approval. That's good. Okay, so that puts me in a good mood. That also takes one thing off my plate. Although they're hiring me for another design, which will add another thing to my plate. But I think, still think it's doable. Ooh, I have a little bit of, can have a little bit of fun here. Where's my little floating head? So in a lot of like 1950s advertisements, they had these like funny floating heads. I think it was like a carryover from like detective comics at the time. But I had this, which I think I might bring back here, but have it alter a little bit. Ooh, geez. Trying to keep this fun. This is from the page prior, so it might shift a little bit. Because I think the next page might be fairly diagrammatical. Try to switch things up with these comics. I follow a 9-panel grid quite often, especially in the two stories that, the two chapters that kind of precede this section. But in this case, I think this can work. Just shift it up a little bit. And he's going to be a little more smiley because he's kind of giving like basic information. Hey, Corey. Welcome back.
Hola.
Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. That's right. That's the welcome back Cotter theme right there. Anyhow, so I was just telling the 4 people watching after the fact that I just got client approval for a t-shirt design that's gone through 2 rounds of mild revisions. And the only downside of that, like, you know, this, when we're kind of people, Corey and I are both people who we take client projects, but only clients that either pay extremely well. No, clients that, I shouldn't say either. We take clients that pay well, and we'll take clients in particular that we like the project.
Yeah.
And this is one of those clients, but the downside of any freelance situation when you have limited freelance that you take on is that waiting period where you're like, okay, I have my window to work on this. I've got it. I've sent it out. Now I'm waiting for feedback. So getting the approval makes me happy. However, now they're having me do another design, and I love this client and I like the designs I get to do for them. But there's a part of me that's like, come on. Which is terrible to say, because I imagine if you're somebody who's like hunting for work, for freelance work, that would sound really entitled and shitty. But, you know,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I get it, though.
I was happy to have approval, is all I'm saying. And now I have to convert the Photoshop file to vector, which isn't that long of a process. But I was saying I might stream tomorrow when I do that. So I'll be doing that probably tomorrow during the day. So, yeah.
I have a client that I was working on their stuff, and they paid. It was a bigger project, so I do a third down, a third down, a third down.
Mhm.
And they paid 2/3 of it for basically just meetings and meetings and meetings and meetings. We never really got anywhere with it.
Oh, that's too bad.
And I was like, oh, well, at least I have my contract in the right spot where, I didn't get screwed or whatever.
Well, the beauty of working out in your contract that you're going to get paid for meetings is that you're not losing in that scenario. Right. Whereas, and I would really highlight that for anybody who's working in the LA area, because Los Angeles is obsessed with meetings that go nowhere.
Right.
And so it's not infrequent to have a client that, like, I remember this from when I was full-time freelance, where they would want to meet and go over a project. And by the time they had gone over the project, like, the project rate had completely shifted.
Yeah.
Because now we've spent the project on you're talking about it. So having that in your contract is really smart, depending, right? If it's a small project, like a single t-shirt design or something, like, maybe just don't have the in-person meeting about it, but if it's like a big project, have that in there so you don't get that, like, that extra crap creep in there and make your time worthless, So that's good. That's good. You had that worked out.
Yeah. Well, they just called me up. It's been a couple of years. Well, maybe 18 months. And they called me up and they're like, hey, let's do this for real. I was like, nice. All right. And I was like, cool. And they said, and we understand that, like, we'll be paying your rate, and starting over. Like, we don't expect, like, you to maintain the same contract that you had before because we abandoned it. And so I was like, okay, cool.
Nice.
Yeah, it'll be fun. But I like these guys. I wouldn't say it's like a fun project, but it's a project that I believe in.
Yeah.
It's also a project that I'm under massive contractual obligation, like NDA stuff. Which is always, because I'm always like, I want to.
Half of why there's a lot of things that prevent me from talking about where I work and what I do other than art directing, because even clients and stuff like that, because I don't want the show to ever be
used against
or anything I do, like, on social media, to be considered like representative of my company, like,
right.
And yeah, there's a ton of NDAs involved in that kind of stuff too, which makes it, kind of fun. It's like you're like a secret agent. I work in the Antelope Valley, so, like, half the people who work out here can't talk about what they do for a living, because there's a huge amount of engineers that work out here, like rocket scientists and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Which I always envy. I don't know why. To me, I'm impressed by people who can think mathematically and creatively to that level. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah. What am I doing? Oh, I see. Come on. Do what I want you to do. There we go. And then give me that. And you go here. Excellent. You can get deleted and go away. And then you go underneath. And that becomes highlight. I don't know why I did it that way.
So this is literally our conversation earlier, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
I just think this is such a surreal part in the story, because you have to consider, like, in the storyline, this is literally like 10 to 20 minutes after being held hostage in a neighbor's apartment. It's very strange.
That's super weird.
Yeah. I've also heard since that that's not an abnormal thing to have that happen and then have police officers show up and be like, yeah, sorry, there's nothing we can do.
Yeah, I'm not super impressed with the police most of the time.
Yeah.
I think some of them do a great job. I'm not one of those people that's like they're all whatever, but
Yeah. Neither am I.
I got hit by a car on my bicycle, and the guy just drove away. And it was like a parking lot that was only in this tiny restaurant. And I was like, well, I can tell you what he looked like and what his car looked like, and I can tell you the exact time that it happened. So he was leaving this restaurant and likely paid with a credit card where they would have his name on a receipt. So you just take everybody that paid within 15 minutes of this thing happening and find the person who's driving this car, and then you have whatever. And he like tried to come up with all of these reasons about how busy he was. He literally took over 45 minutes explaining how busy he was. And I was
I'm so busy, I need to spend 45 minutes to explain how busy I am when I could be spending that doing exactly what you recommend.
Yeah. Do you not see the irony of the situation? Like how stupid you actually sound right now? He didn't. Man. He didn't see that.
Yeah, it's funny because, like I said, you know, I literally have a family member who was and is like one of the best people I know. And he's like one of those people, like if you imagine the kind of person you'd like a cop to be, he is that guy. Like he has integrity, cares about people. He sincerely wants to help people. He's like one of the kindest people you'll ever meet.
Yeah.
And he was, you know, in the LAPD for like a very long period of time, like 40 years or something. So, well, 30 years. Now he's retired. But it's like, you know, even in the story, like I have him in it, and he spelled it out pretty well. Where he was just like, you know, like, do you have crappy people at your work that shouldn't be doing what they do? He's like, that's pretty much what we have. Like, you know, where it's like, there's just some people who shouldn't have that job who have it, and
well, and that's like everywhere. You know?
Downside is, you know, it's like if it's that way at like a college or in an office or something like that, usually the person who shouldn't have the job isn't carrying a gun.
Right.
So that's, and doesn't have like extra rights, like to kind of.
Yeah, that's the issue. Is it's like, you know, at every workplace, there's like, you hate kids. Why are you teaching? You know, or you are miserable all the time and you make horrible decisions that cost the company tons of money or whatever. But like in that job, when somebody, you know, is a jerk and shouldn't be there, they kill people.
Exactly. Yeah. Or they're just neglectful and cause harm.
Yeah. Right.
I almost feel like, I think I heard this, but it's like, I feel like they need to implement like, do they have the same standard as like doctors, you know, where they have to, like, doctors have to take an oath to do no harm?
I don't know. I don't know anything about it. Very uneducated when it comes to that type of thing, to be honest.
So I don't know enough either about it. But I do know this is a fun part of the story because once again I can break out of the 9-panel grid, break on through to the other side. I have this kind of turned. That's right, an upside down speech bubble. What do you think about that? All right, so there we go. I don't like the overlap there. I think last time I did the same exact thing and didn't like the overlap. Isn't that funny?
Oh, you have a habit and then you have to like see it each time to know that you don't like it.
Yeah, like I don't know, kind of having the same thought.
And then you remember, I do that all the time where I'm like, oh, I remember why I haven't done this before.
I
It doesn't.
remember trying that last time and it didn't really work. That's cool. That's coming along okay. I like the 50s palette there. What is that? Oh my gosh, I'm thinking in Pantones. Is that 485? The red?
Honestly, I saw it on a T-shirt that I liked, and I stole the colors from a T-shirt. So that's
It looks like 485. 485 is Fender red. It's like that cherry red. See on the.
Yeah, I'm. Oh, I want this to be underneath. I think. Yeah. What? Don't tell me what to do.
Yeah, and it's funny because it depends on which industry you work in. Because I know like some people, like before where I art direct now, like my biggest geekdom was CMYK, you know, where I was like, get those CMYK values, you get like all the colors to have at least 5 difference and maybe round them all to 5 so they look all nice.
Uh-huh.
Because if you have like 2% difference in cyan and magenta, it's like it's not going to really it's not going to show. So you usually want like 5% difference minimum. And I was like a geek about that. Like I spent a long time really perfecting like CMYK, and then now it's like all about Pantones. It just kind of depends on what the print process is where you work, you know.
Yeah.
But it's like I deal with Pantone so much that it's like it's almost like a breath of fresh air to go back to like offset printing and good old CMYK. Like,
I think that's probably why I mix an HSB is because I've never worked at a place that was where anybody knew anything about any of that. And so I would just, just work with the printer and just be like, all right, what are we dealing with? And most of them are local printers and they'd just be like, yeah, just get it to us.
That's awesome.
We'll give you a sample, we'll make it work. It's like, okay.
HSB is great though for man, it's funny. I think until I never used HSB.
I love HSB.
Although I use the hue saturation slider all the time in Photoshop when I'm coloring, right?
Yeah.
Just Command U and then just slide it.
Mm-hmm.
But I had never even known about that as a color option. And then you showed me and I was like, oh crap, because I was always annoyed that on Illustrator I couldn't just slide the hue because it's so great for finding a complement or coming up with like a color of light. The one thing that really sucks just for anyone who ends up working in Pantone is like you see that light cream you just made?
Yeah.
That would be close to impossible to nail in Pantone. Like Pantone's light creams, like the off whites, like the retro whites.
Yeah.
It's like it's just almost non-existent. It's really annoying too because they wouldn't be that hard of a color to mix. You know, you just put in like 1% yellow into a color or something. You know, yeah. But they just I don't know. For years they've never had good creams, like light creams.
That's
very irritating if you work on retro art, you know?
Right.
Yeah, so
that's bizarre.
Yeah, something to be aware of if you're ever like setting up like art for lapel pins or something. It's generally going to be really hard for them to do like the retro off-white.
I'm going to pull this back. I don't like how this is looking.
Okay, where was I going with this? This was going to have a little thing down here. And then it's close to done, dude. Pretty excited. I say that and it'll be like 3 hours later. I have a joke with my son. He's got these like Minecraft character toys because he really likes Minecraft. And one of them is like a librarian. And we were playing with the toys one day, and I came up with a bit that I repeat every time I play, like I'm the librarian character, where like the characters that he's playing with will like come to the librarian for like a book, and then the librarian like is like, oh, let me go find that book, and then it's like it takes him 2 hours to go get the book. And then he usually comes back and is like forgotten something, so he didn't actually get the book. So he's like the librarian that takes like 10 years to get anything accomplished. Anyhow, that's the bit. So usually he ends up getting killed.
That's funny.
But I might borrow that for some future story where there's a character who just takes like 10 hours to get his book done or something, or get a book for someone. I don't know. It's a good comic device.
Yeah.
Why did I think of that? Oh, because I am that librarian when it comes to art. Okay. Here we go.
All right. I'm going to do this.
So,
and then
California law, blah, 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 blah.
Okay, roll and close that off. There we go. Make sure that's all closed off. And then...
Oh, this is going to be fun. If you only... This is getting into what Corey and I were talking about when I was asking him about gun stuff, because... Oh, come on. This is a very strange thing about the law, and from what I've looked into, this is pretty accurate.
Yeah.
Like that, you could actually be penalized for, wounding someone trying to break into your house or something.
Yep. Yeah, our laws are messed up.
It's tough too because I mean, it's kind of a shame no one sees the spirit of law. It always kind of ends up in the scenario of like a legalistic nightmare of interpretation of law, which it's hard to see a way around because
there's always somebody trying to game the system. And
yeah, but I mean, it is frustrating. I wish there were a way where there could be a world that has protocols or something that have spirit in them as opposed to just letter.
Yeah.
But it is also one of those sad things of like, then people exploit it. So. Do. This is pretty good. I like that. Oh, I know what I was going to do. I think. Well, let me see what I can do here.
All right.
Nope. I want these to be boxes. Do. So, I was going to ask, that's right, before taking my little break, I was going to ask, what do you envision we should do till we have all these assets and stuff for art check thing?
What should we do in the meantime?
Yeah, like, do you want to still kind of rock the art check a little bit, or I don't know. I'm just trying to figure it out myself.
Not really.
Yeah,
I'm pretty done.
me too.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I will have this. This will be done before I go to bed.
Are you serious?
Yeah,
Oh,
the animation of this is going to be super easy.
did I just color fill? Yep, I just did exactly what you talked about, Corey. Where you were drawing on the wrong layer.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
That's the one major problem with sleep deprivation is I feel like you're not quite as effective. When I say you, I mean me and people in general.
No, I'm just kidding. I don't care. I agree. One nice thing about sleep deprivation, weirdly enough, is like the other night when I came up with that crazy paneling idea of having the gun ad for that was a little bit of like a lack of sleep.
Oh yeah.
And some of it was just keeping myself interested, which I talked about a bit, but I do think there's value. And I'm sure you'd agree with this, but it's like there's value in keeping yourself engaged and like in a process and kind of seeking ways to keep it interesting because the worst thing you can do in art is usually create something you have no interest in.
Right.
So it's like whatever way you can find, I don't know, especially with comics, I feel like you kind of have to take advantage of the medium. You don't have to, but I think you should.
If you don't, it's like do something easier instead.
Yeah.
Like, if you're not going to take advantage of it, then, choose an easier storytelling method.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And that's sometimes some of my struggles with client work and stuff is like the animating is fun, the illustrating is fun, but only to a certain extent because sometimes I'm just bored.
Yeah.
Like I would rather do this in a much more interesting way.
Although even that can lead to some creative decisions, in that boredom.
Dude, no. Why are you like that? Why? Don't be like that. Be not like that instead.
Okay, this is going to be the weirdest little series of panels, but it's going to work. It'll work. Who can skip through the mud with the greatest of ease? I have Muddy Mud Skipper's theme song stuck in my head.
What on earth is that?
Ren and Stimpy.
Okay.
There's a character. You should look it up. Actually, it would crack you up because it's like they had all these little sequences that were like that show had such a neat aesthetic to it, where it was riffing on like a lot of 1950s and 60s stuff.
Yeah.
And it was a fake TV show called the Muddy Mud Skipper Show. And Muddy Mud Skipper was like a mud skipper. It just was like a rock star in Hollywood. But it was a good bit, but it has a whole Muddy Mud Skipper theme song.
That's funny.
Yeah. It's like, it's muddy, mud skipper, it's muddy. It's a good one.
Yeah, it's too bad that the creator is a horrible person.
Yeah, it's really sad.
That always bums me.
But sad.
Yeah, I mean, it's not surprising given that it's Hollywood, but it's just always like,
Well, just like, yeah, that guy is. Yeah, I knew some people because it's one of those things where you hear things
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, I mean, that guy had a pretty bad reputation.
And the thing that drives me nuts is everybody protects those people.
Yeah, shouldn't.
Let it burn. Why do people stand up and protect the most horrible people? I don't get it. I don't get it. Okay. Paper roll. We'll go here. And we'll make that. There we go. Huzzah. Okay. Okay. Pulling this way back because it was ridiculous.
All right. Getting there. It's funny. I'm glad you kind of talk to yourself a little bit when you work, because that is sort of, I think that's sort of the way it goes.
Yeah.
You're also engaging multiple parts of your brain when you're working on art. And I think it helps to, like, when you start doing the creative stuff, it helps to have like a side that's kind of talking you through it too, because you're like processing it.
Right.
For me, that helps me think.
If I'm
Ooh.
push these buttons, I should just do one of the 9 buttons and then just repeat it. Right? Right. That's what I'm going to do, because doing something else would be dumb.
So you're going to make it so that you can hit all of the different buttons on it?
I might randomize it a little bit, but yeah, I separated them all out. But I think I'm going to animate it, because like you take one of these buttons, right? Take like the number 7, for example, and I can move it up and down. So I can come in here and I can move it this way, and it kind of goes into that hole. But the challenge is I don't want to have to animate the mask of every one of those movements. And so if I just do it one time, then I can just duplicate that 9 times, and I can control it. How can I control it? If I control it, I've got 5 positions, so I can make 5 of them go. Yeah, I could control it by just doing one joystick hooked to a time remap of that comp repeated. Would I rename it? I don't know how that would work. That's probably too complicated. I might just leave it. I might just leave it as an option, but not do it right now. That's probably what I'll do. I'll just have it as, I'll rig it so that I could do it later if I wanted to, but I'm not going to do it right now. That's my plan. Welcome to the inner thoughts of my brain.
I like the inner thoughts. They're working for me. Okay, so I am on this last panel, and it's going to be or try to wound him. And in this case, I'm going to just have this be a target. I don't know. I'm trying to think. I think that'll work. And what's funny is, especially because these are thumbnails, like the stuff that's a telltale sign of like a crappy thumbnail is like this would take 5 seconds to make in Illustrator. Okay. So I don't even know if I'm making a proper target here, dude. Whatever. That's going to be it for now.
I don't know why I decided to make the buttons on this look like something Willy Wonka designed, but I'm rolling with it.
Roll with it. I'm just gonna be your yes man today.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm like your hype man.
Like,
oh crap, Corey, are you gonna take that? Like that kind of thing. Okay, so let's pop this up because I need, and actually that works even better. And we're gonna have this last line. First, I want to have this a little smaller. This is why thumbnails are so important. And roughs. The nice thing is a lot of this is roughs, so this will save me time. I say right now.
I'm banking on it. I'm banking on it because otherwise, you're gonna do 5 years of this book.
Yep. It's like weeding the yard, just showing up.
Yep.
Showing up, doing the work, trusting the process. It will happen. Okay.
I also think just finishing something is also like a secret to like doing it faster the next time. Like it's kind of like those people that say I wouldn't know because I don't have $1 million. They're like, yeah, once you know how to make $1 million, you can make another million. Even if you lose it, you can make it again because you know that you could do it.
Yeah, you figure out the whole thing's a scam anyway.
It's weird. It's weird to me that money and I wanted that to be cream. It's weird to me that money and the economy and everything is all just basically how we feel about things.
Yeah, and I think
and no one's figured that out yet.
Like I just think the notion that we're supposed to pretend the stock market isn't gambling is it's ridiculous. It's like I just think it's ridiculous. That's all.
Just because I like switches, I am going to have a second switch. And you can't stop me. So don't even try.
What about a fourth? You're like, wait, I didn't even mention a third. Exactly.
All right. That goes, no, we want that one to go right there. And then I'll put that.
Okay.
What? All layers. I know we're on all layers.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, check this out. I have finished my page. I'm going to zoom out and I will move it. Let me see if I can. Let me zoom in and then move it up a little bit so that you guys can see it.
Okay, and then I need to color one button.
How's that?
I can't see anything. You got to make yourself full screen.
Here, I'll make myself full screen.
Oops, sorry.
All right, so ladies and gents, this is the finished page for the thumbnail for page 84. And it is like 2:00. So I gotta call. Just remove myself from the stream. That was crazy. So anyhow, let's see. Let's get back to this. Okay, cool.
Let's do it. There you go. Nope. Do that. There we go.
Wait, are we trying to?
Are we both doing the same thing? Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Well, your channel.
Dude, I really appreciate you hanging on the stream and getting work done with me. I hope you felt it was productive. I actually think for me, I've gotten a little bit better of a hang of how long it takes me to do these things. And this one ended up being 3 hours and 30 minutes, but whatever, I got it done. So, but I appreciate you coming and hanging out, and I will probably be calling it on this stream because it's getting super late and got the work done. So thanks to anybody who's watching this. If you haven't yet, hit the subscribe, hit the bell. That way you get notifications. And if you're on Twitch, hit follow. Also, my guest today, who's frequently going to be popping on every once in a while, is Corey Kerr. And you should go to CoreyKerr.com, right? Corey Kerr Art. Corey Kerr, thank you. CoreyKerr.com. I knew it was CoreyKerr.com. And then my brain second guessed it for a second. Go to CoreyKerr.com. Check out Corey's stuff. Go check out his streams and awesome stuff. And then we actually have a pretty awesome project coming up that we've talked a bit about, but not super much about. And we will be announcing shortly, which is pretty exciting. Anything else I should add, Corey? Anything you would like people to do?
No. We probably just need to loop in Scott on some of these conversations so that we can figure out what Monday night looks like.
I mean, we could see if Scott wants to just do that. Like we could try to do that for just call it an art check and just talk about that. I don't know, or just call it something else. we could just do a live talk about it or an off-air talk about it tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm done. I'm done with the art check. I want it dead.
I get it. I'm there too. But anyway, we could do a stream off or on air and just talk about it. And with Scott. All right. Well, I gotta call it so I have some juice left for tomorrow.
It's only 3 a.m. here, so I'm good for another hour at least before I go to bed. So.
All right.
I'll see you.
Well, I do have some other stuff, some client stuff and stuff like that. So I will probably be seeing you guys during the day. And if I do this during the day, you're probably going to be seeing a 7-year-old running around like a madman in this very room. All right. Corey, appreciate you hanging.
We'll see you.
I will see you guys next week.
Okay.
Well, next week. Why am I saying next week? I'll probably see you tomorrow. I do these streams all the time. So, all right. See you guys.
Bye.